moment of silence for the men and women of the armed forces, our first responders, and those 17 people that lost their lives in the Bronx apartment fire. Thank you. I'd like to read the legal notice for the public hearing, January 10th, 2022, pursuant to Section 406 of the Milford Charter. The Milford Town Council shall hold a public hearing to receive public comment and to discuss the New Milford joining the Housatonic Health District, aka Pomperaug Health District. Copies of the proposal are on file and available for review in the town clerk's office. Said hearing shall be held Monday, January 10th at 6:30 p.m. in the E. Paul Martin Room, second floor, 10 Main Street, New Milford, Connecticut, dated this 31st day of December 2021. And if I could have Lisa and Ann, if you could kind of give a little bit of a synopsis for the members that are here and also for those that are viewing.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. So tonight, one of the items for discussion is the New Milford Health Department joining the Housatonic Valley Health District. One of the key points to the merger, one, the cost savings to the town of New Milford, which is estimated to be about $94,000 annually, about $500,000 over a 5-year period. Secondarily, the increase in services to the town of New Milford during the MOU that we were working under, we actually doubled our capacity for environmental health services by picking up an additional sanitarian. And then for nursing staff, as many of you know, we don't have budgeted nursing staff within the health department. We rely on contractors, and the health district actually has a team of nurses that they work under, and that has really been instrumental to help us here in New Milford, not just with COVID-19, but also with expanded services for diabetes, for pain management, for disease management. So we're really discussing about this potential merger for the, not just the cost savings, but for the additional services that we'd be able to provide our residents here in New Milford.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Any members of the council have any questions? Sal, do we have anybody from the public? Okay, can we just double check one more time? Okay. Okay. And last call for any public comment for this notice of a public hearing for the New Milford to join the Housatonic Health District, aka Pomperaug Health District. Seeing that we have no further comment, I'd like to make a motion to close this public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Yes, so moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much, everybody. Our next meeting will be for the town meeting, which will be at 6:45 p.m.
So Tom's on the phone, is that?
Yes, Tom's on the phone.
Okay, Pete, you're hot.
Okay. All right.
That's very nice of you to say.
We all can stand for the pledge, please. Can we have our veterans lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, and those 17 people that passed away during the apartment fire in the Bronx, New York. Thank you. Noreen?
Do I have any nominations for a moderator?
Move for Noreen, Richard, or Pete Bass, sorry.
Okay,
I'm looking at you.
okay, do I hear a second?
Second?
Okay, so moved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Pete,
Thank you.
there you go.
Going to read the call of the warning. Town of New Milford warning notice of special town meeting, January 10th, 2022. Those qualified to vote in the town meetings of the town of New Milford are hereby warned and notified to meet at the New Milford Town Hall, 10 Main Street, New Milford, Connecticut, on January 10th, 2022 at 6:45 p.m. in the E. Paul Martin Room for the following purposes to wit. To consider and act upon the following question. Shall the town of New Milford expend COVID Relief Rescue Act funds received from the United States Treasury as follows? Youth Agency Counselors, $225,000 for a 2-year trial. Child Care Assistance, $100,000. New Milford Senior Center Advisory Board, $75,137. Brownsfield Grant Connecticut Community Challenge Grant Match of $500,000. John Pettibone Community Center, $150,000. New Milford Police Department, $30,375 for scheduling software. New Milford Fire Department, burn building, $410,525 for all of the fire departments. Northfield Fire Department, 14 sets of turnout gear, 18 portable radios, 7 mobile radios, replacement fire nozzles, fire gear dryer, mobile fire gear storage tank, Water Witch Maxi Force airbag system, outfitted rescue boat, underwater sonar equipment, PPE drying cabinet, washing machines, underwater drone, Arizona Vortex, Gaylordsville Fire Department, 23 global radios, Lucas CPR device, 3 AEDs, air transportation vacuum spine board, 2 backboards for spine immobilization, backstrap set, 2 thermal imaging cameras, stoke basket, infrastructure, Sullivan Farm replacement of the barn roof, farm crew supervisor, assistant farm manager positions, park and rec, disc golf course, outdoor movie theater, and the primary capital loans for capital resident capital repairs. Copies of said proposed expenditures are on file and available for public inspection at the office of New Milford Town Clerk, dated at New Milford, Connecticut, this 31st day of December 2021, as authorized by the town council. Sal, do we have anybody that has put their name in for public comment tonight?
That's for 7 p.m., isn't it?
You know, it's a 7 p.m. I don't have anything right now.
Nothing for 6:45?
Okay. And please note, the farm crew supervisor and assistant farm manager positions is listed here as $80,000. That was $80,000 for 2 positions. For 2 years, it should be $160,000. That's okay for a Scribner's error, correct, Randy? Okay. And we have no comment at all?
No.
Okay. Okay. I would like to make a couple comments before we decide to go to vote. The American Rescue Plan, the Treasury gave their final rule summary, which they gave to the towns January 2022. The Department of Treasury released the final rule for the coronavirus state and local federal recovery funds, which is the abbreviation SLFRF of the American Rescue Plan Act. The final rule FR provides clarity and broadens in select categories eligible uses. The FR is separated into 5 broad categories: responding to public health emergency and negative economic impacts of COVID, replacement of lost revenue, water and sewer infrastructure, broadband infrastructure. So a couple of these, I think I'm very proud of. New Milford is already doing that. One is for public safety. We're allowing $500,000 for COVID. We're helping our first responders, helping those. Others, assistance to households, whether it be for impacted food assistance to the food banks, emergency housing assistance, rental assistance, mortgage assistance. Very proud that New Milford's doing that. Assistance to our small businesses, assistance to our nonprofits. When I find that, as I hear from some of our residents that may be a little bit confused about the replacement of lost revenue and how that impacts and allows New Milford to do certain things with the American Relief money. The FR provides greater clarity and eligibility to identify revenue loss. In particular, the final rule distinguishes that either or not both of the two options are available to determine the amount of revenue loss. One is to select a standard allowance of $10 million to spend on government services, or calculate actual revenue according to the formula detailed in the IFRFR. Any funds designated as revenue loss can be used towards government service, which generally include any service that is traditionally provided by the government, unless specifically prohibited by the Treasury. So to our town attorney, do these infrastructure improvements and capital improvements fall within the guidelines of the American Relief Funds?
Yes, on their face they do. Of course, that would be subject to our auditor's review.
Thank you. Councilman? So, do we have a last call for any public comment concerning this town meeting, the funds for the, to take out for the American Relief Fund as listed on our call here tonight? Seeing if there is none, I'd like to call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to close this town meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting is our town council meeting. That will be at 7 p.m. this evening. Thank you, everybody. Okay. We can all stand for the pledge, please. Can our veterans lead us in the pledge, please? Have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, and those 17 individuals that passed away due to the apartment fire in the Bronx, New York. Thank you.
Sal. You're not doing a very good job, Mr. Bear.
Sal, do we have anybody that wishes to address the town council?
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Robert Greco?
Good evening, Mayor Bass and Town Council members. I'm here tonight
I'm sorry,
as
could you just state your name and address for the record?
Robert Greco, 12 Sand Road. I'm here tonight as a New Milford citizen and as a U.S. Navy corpsman veteran who continues to serve as an officer of the American Legion, Ezra Woods, Post 31, New Milford. I watched the Town Council meeting of November 22nd at home due to recent diagnosis of cancer and COVID concern. My purpose tonight is to voice my disgust regarding a Town Council member's apparent disdain for veterans during the discussion of a crisis social worker position, and that member's request of removing veterans' preference from job listing. I stand before you this evening recently retired from my 50-year medical career that began at Great Lakes Naval Hospital as a corpsman, then served at Philadelphia Naval Hospital, which during the Vietnam era was the Navy's East Coast Center for both psychiatric and amputee services. Then assigned to Marine Corps Training Depot, Parris Island, South Carolina, before deploying to Diego Garcia Indian Ocean in Thailand. Upon discharge, I attended the Yale Medical School PA program, graduated and hired at Danbury Hospital Emergency Department, working there for 5 years before accepting a position in primary care family practice from where I retired this past October. I also contracted to the Department of Defense performing post-deployment exams on returning soldiers. Of course, the town position requires the proper degree and academic credentials for a crisis position. My point is that a veteran with the required credentials plus the military experience of crisis management and treatment should be preferred. In the early 1960s, Dr. Eugene Stead at Duke Medical School recognized the training and experience of military corpsmen and medics and started the PA program that flourishes in the US, Canada, UK, Australia, and Europe today. What could be better than hiring a veteran with a sound background in daily crisis management? Excuse me. We all remember the film Patton. Everyone remembers Patton striking the soldier with quote-unquote shell shock. But who remembers the reaction of the medical staff as they moved to protect the soldier? Modern-day term PTSD originated from the military term shell shock, and military medicine specializes in crisis management. I therefore request that veterans preferred remain in the job listing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Mr. Paul Murphy?
Paul Murphy, 15 Buckboard Lane in our great town of New Milford. Tonight I come before you as a United States military veteran, having served from 1967 through 1975, 8 years with the Air Force Office of Special Investigation, and as a civilian police officer after. I will direct my statement in regard to the Town Council meeting of the 22nd of November, 2021, and the topic of a crisis social worker position to be sought and paid for under the federal ARPA funds. This position would be for 2 years under the program, but may be continued by the town after that. The video of November 22nd meeting is available on YouTube, and at the 1 hour and 53-minute time the subject is discussed. And I'll repeat that. That's on November 22nd on YouTube, 1 hour and 53 minutes into the time this subject is discussed. As one of the many veterans, and speaking for some here tonight, I'm appalled at the council member Lundgren's disregard for military veterans by requesting that a veteran preference should not be included in any job search for a crisis social worker at the wage of $50,000 a year. The United States military has had for years some of the highest number of domestic violence brought on by the stress of the duties, the low pay, the indebtedness, the unaccompanied assignments for 12 to 18 months, PTSD, and extramarital affairs. Each military base has trained counselors as well as federal off-site personnel 24 hours a day. Many of these military members have college degrees and certified in many areas of crisis management. As of 2021, our town has 32 veterans, both men and women, employed, and surely their military background was on the employment applications. Our previous mayor, Pat Murphy, also was a military veteran. There are over 300 World War II, Korea, and Vietnam veterans with many Gulf War active duty returning here as well. Add to that the 1,400 veterans that served our country in time of war and peace so we all could live in freedom, rest forever in the cemeteries throughout the New Milford area. The federal and state, as well as an overwhelming number of cities and towns throughout the 50 states, award veterans with the benefit of being chosen over a non-veteran with the same qualifications. One classic example that I want to give is that when you get out of the military after a 6-year commitment, you don't really have any benefits other than the GI Bill. A United States senator or congressman does 1 term, and he has all the benefits he'll ever want for life. It's disheartening through enough that Councilperson Lundgren and other members of her party never appear at military ceremonies, i.e. Memorial Day, Veterans Day, 9/11, even the rededication of our town tank on the green, which I spearheaded about 2 years ago. Veterans here tonight, watching via the live feed behind me, request that the veterans' preference be included in all the town employment applications, and that the member Lundgren of the council make a formal apology to the Milford veterans, past, present, and future. Furthermore, the actions of the Democratic Town Committee chairman, the same person, Mary Jane Lundgren, who signed off on the mayoral campaign mailer, somehow insinuating that many of the citizens, which include veterans of New Milford, were somehow followers of the Nazi Party, I find totally disgusting and request that she be censored or reprimanded for this unpatriotic behavior of an elected official of this town. Any actions by any member of this council, whether it be Democrat, Republican, or unaffiliated, disrespecting veterans alive or dead, will have consequences at the voting booths by veterans, their families, and friends. On behalf of the many fellow veterans, we thank the council for the opportunity to voice our sentiments here tonight. In closing, since the year 2014, there are over 20 suicides of veterans per day in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
If I don't fall down, I'll get there. First off, I would like to present to the two sitting Democrats this paperwork that was supposed to be for Mrs. Lundgren. Okay? I'm here tonight,
Just your name and address for the
address 288 Kent Road, New Milford, Connecticut, 20 years. And I'm here tonight as the commander of the American Legion for 24 years, consecutive running. And in our post, we have 124 members. It's my responsibility to take care of all these men and care for all of their needs, whatever they may be, small or big, transportation, whatever. That's my responsibility. Helping them getting disability aid, medications from the VA, whatever it is, that's my responsibility. And I take it to heart every single day. And Bob Greco and Paul Murphy are members of my post, as well as Jim Delancey and Vinnie Delaney and Rocco Barbario, and honorary member Walter Bear. Okay? Now, what I have to say is politically correct, and it will maintain everybody's dignity and respect on the Democratic Party. Okay? If you are ever going to get ahead in life, you have to make sure your thoughts are always positive, because your thoughts become your words. You also have to make sure you keep your words positive, because your words become your behavior. You have to keep your behavior positive, because your behavior becomes your habits. You have to learn to keep your habits positive, because your habits become your values. By keeping your values positive, your values become your destiny and your legacy. By maintaining a respectable degree of integrity, your self-worth, you become respected by all you come in contact with in life. So finally, the worth of a person is equal to the worth of the words they speak and the acts that they perform in society. For a person to have worth, they have to be one who always has the character and worth to speak worthy words and perform worthy acts, always to maintain their own dignity and respect. That is their destiny. Now, for the two ladies that are here tonight from the Democratic Party, do either one of you know what the roll of honor is?
No. No.
That's correct. That's the big board down in the main entranceway where all the veterans from World War II are listed. 675 veterans on that board. Okay? Now, on that board, there are 21 stars next to several 21 different veterans' names. Do you know what those stars represent? Okay, that star represents that a veteran from New Milford died in World War II, fighting for our freedom, okay? And it agitates me beyond words that the DTC would have a flyer with an arm extended in the air like Hitler's fascist party. That is not right, and I truly believe in my heart of hearts as a veteran and one that had a father and uncles that fought in World War II, that was a grievous mistake, and that needs to be given a public apology here at this meeting by Mrs. Lundgren or all three of you ladies together at some point in time. So,
As a parliamentarian, just direct your questions to the entire council, not individuals, please.
I'm sorry, sir.
I said, please direct your comments to the entire council, not individuals. As I am the parliamentarian, just need to keep order.
Okay. Now, also attached to the paperwork I had for Mrs. Lundgren tonight is a government-operated piece of paperwork of 3 pages, protected veterans' rights. Okay? Whether they're in the military or if they are a civilian and they're applying for a job within the town system. Our town system has 32 veterans that are working in this town after they got out of military service, which includes EMT, Department of Public Works, Park and Rec, New Milford Police Department. These veterans served honorably, and if they deserve a job, somebody comes looking for a job, they deserve it, period. You have to get, I'm sorry?
Yeah, the 10 seconds.
Okay, you have, lost my train of thought. But anyway, please make sure that Mrs. Lundgren gets that copy, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Commander. Thank you for your service, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
There is no more names on the list given.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who wants to take a stand?
And Katie, on the consent agenda, can you make this adjustment? Councilwoman Ram making her name corrected in the agenda, please?
On the
Or the
agenda?
minutes, I mean, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
in the minutes?
Yep.
Okay, sure. Okay. Okay, moving along. We go to item number 3. I'd like to move that we approve items.
I'm sorry, Kate, before we do
Oh,
that,
sorry.
I'm sorry. In public comment, we also have some members that emailed the town council and the mayor, and I'd like to give these to Stephanie to put in the minutes. One is from Melanie Martin, 10 Glen Ridge Court in New Milford. The other one is Irene Scarballo, 205 Pumpkin Hill Road. The next one is Leah Gill, 26 Butterbrook Hill. And the other one is Christina Moots Clark, 12 Standish Road. Has to be put into the minutes. Yep.
If I could, I'm concerned about one of those and putting it into the public record. One came in through a local law firm, and the message at the bottom of that email that came in, this was addressed to the town council. It says, "The information in this transmission is privileged and confidential and intended only for the recipient listed above."
Randy?
So,
Is there an attorney-client relationship there?
I don't think
Sent
so.
to the
no.
town
Sent to the
council.
town council.
It's town council's fair game.
Then it's, okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we weren't
Yep.
No,
stepping into
no,
something.
no.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
I move to accept the consent agenda items 3A to E with one correction on the town council meeting minutes of December 13th, 2021, to please correct the spelling of Hillary Graham. It's H-I-L, 1 L, and A-R-Y, and Ram, R-A-M, 1 M, no H. And that has been noted, and hopefully will take effect. I understand. So we have items 3A to E. In our items, I'll just briefly say that the Parks and Rec, under their item number C, they'd like to say thank you for a donation of $1,300 from Bruce and Laura Allen of New Milford to purchase a tree and a plaque for the town green in memory of Angela and Harry Townsend and Jocelyn and Stuart Allen. And item D, for the Youth Agency, they would like to thank an anonymous donor who's given $5,000 to be used for Youth Agency general support, as seen by the director. These funds are to be placed in the revenue account 10441900433305, and then increase the expense account number 10441900589005 by $5,000. And item E, lastly, the New Milford Police Department would like to say thank you for a donation of $200 from the Evans family. And also a gift card worth $250 from an anonymous donor. The monetary donation from the Evans family is to be used for future police academy meetings. The gift certificate is for the police meetings and supply breakfast for the officers. There's the motion. Thank you, Tom.
Any other discussion on the consent agenda motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any
Okay.
abstentions? Thank
Item
you.
number 4, I move the following appointment for the New Milford Youth Agency. Cecilia Buck Taylor as an alternate, term of January 10th, 2022 through January 31st of 2024. And Molly Ledden for the term of January 10th, 2022 through January 31st, 2024.
Second.
And we have a second from Councilman Cosgrove. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay, item number 5. I move that we review and act to approve making New Milford a B city, as in B-E-E.
And tonight we have with us,
Chris seconded that.
who, do we have a second?
Chris
Thank you,
Cosgrove.
And tonight we have Brooke Healy. Brooke, can you come on up?
There she is.
And Brooke had contacted me about the opportunity for New Milford to be the first city or town, I say town, in Connecticut to be a true bee city. And when Brooke approached, I thought it was a wonderful idea. So Brooke, can you kind of tell the town council a little bit more and the public that's watching here tonight about New Milford being a bee city?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Brooke Healy. I'm not a resident of New Milford, but I'm actually the Department of Public Works Director's daughter, Jack. So I go to the University of New Hampshire. I am a wildlife and conservation biology major, and at school, I am working to make UNH a certified bee campus. So it's different than a bee city, but learning about the bee campus and bee city certifications, I thought New Milford would be an absolutely perfect city to be the first city in Connecticut to do so. So Bee City essentially is a certification that shows that the town or the city is taking steps to protect pollinators, do education and outreach, and reduce use of pesticides, mainly for town spaces, private and public. And pollinators are very important. Obviously, most of us know this, but people think of pollinators just being bees. However, Connecticut especially has different types of pollinators, such as birds, bats, flies, moths, beetles, and many other native animals and insects that are really important pollinators for our ecosystems. Different landscapes that support local pollinators include farms, public lands, and home landscapes, which is all of what Bee City encompasses. Is not only making sure that the town or the city has space and public areas to enhance pollinator protection and conservation, but also incorporates citizens and their home landscapes as well. In New Milford, as all of you know, it's a very sustainable town already, a very sustainable city. So this would be a perfect addition to already the Sustainability CT Silver certified. You also have many different areas like Sullivan Farm, Native Meadows Preserve, and the New Milford Riverfront Revitalization Committee that have already taken a lot of steps to make the town more sustainable. So the certification would just add to that and enhance that. Yeah, that's about the basics of Bee City. What you would need to do would be to form a committee to assign taking role and a direction for completing the application and taking it from there. That's the next step.
So tonight, what I'd like to see if we could take a motion that the council would allow us to set up a committee for Bee City USA. Joe?
It's already moved. I have a question.
Yes,
Kate?
of course.
The committee. Thank you, Tom. Is there, does the committee have to be a certain size?
I do not believe so, no.
Okay, all right. And we could complete the draft of the Bee City USA resolution. I'm aware of that.
Yes.
We'd submit our application,
Yep.
submit the adopted resolution, pay the application fee.
Yep.
And all mayor, I think we just need to designate a local government department as our sponsor.
Exactly.
Who would you suggest?
Truly, I'm not so sure. Many different areas.
That's what I thought you were gonna say.
Many different departments or areas could have a say in this, so it'd truly be whoever'd want to.
Okay, we'll review it with a couple, along with DPW. How's that?
Yes.
And I think what's great already is when we were going for our silver certification for Sustainable Connecticut, the McCarthy Observatory became a wonderful pollinator there as well already.
Yes.
So it's great that we have some other areas. I know Sullivan Farm at one point had some hives up there.
Yep.
Maybe we could recreate that in native meadows. So I think
yeah.
when Brooke had brought this forward, I thought it was just a wonderful opportunity for our town.
I know when Sunny Valley Preserve does their open farm day, they have beekeepers come in
Yeah.
and educate the public about that. And I think our garden club could be involved in this as well.
Absolutely.
Right, that's a nonprofit.
Joe?
So-
Anybody who grows flowers or vegetables in town knows the importance of bees pollination. And if my memory serves me, I'm not here as long as some other people, there used to be a beekeeper's store here in New Milford. And it's probably a good 25, 30 years ago that store was in this town.
Yeah.
And we know how we're having problems with bees across the United States. It's a wonderful idea. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Councilwoman?
And, you know, DPW is not that far off the mark, because one of the things that you have to deal with to have a friendly bee community is to not have invasives and to make sure that you're using local plantings, so it's not that far off the mark. It might not be the perfect, but
Right.
The 5 acres we sit on is completely chemical free, and we do all these things. I think it's a great idea,
Awesome.
and I think the more people involved, the better. And but there's a lot of learning to do to get to where you want to be. So it's going to take some time.
Thank you. And Brooke said she would continue to help us even when she's
Yeah,
in.
I would love to.
New
You know,
Hampshire.
I won't be here, but I'm only an email away, so I'd love to continue on as I'm doing this currently for the University of New Hampshire as well. So I'm not an expert yet, but I'm learning my way through, and I'd love to give some of that help if needed to the
Great.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you all.
So we need to vote.
Thank you, Brooke.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Mr.
sir,
Mayor?
Tom. Yes, Tom.
Hello?
Yes, Tom.
I just wanted to ask her one question. Are you familiar with the group out of Vermont at UVM called Be the Change? They were started up there in Vermont to encourage forage for bees under solar installations across the state of Vermont.
Yes, I actually tried to reach out to them regarding UNH when we were starting to get that together. I didn't hear a response, but I thought that was a perfect example of being really smart with what you have and working with what you have and enhancing your ecosystem in ways that not a lot of people imagine.
If you reach out to them again, the founder of it is Dr. Kiernan, who is a Canterbury graduate from the late 70s and is a good friend. And if you said you were turning New Milford into a bee city, I think he would give you a ring back and may help participate a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Any other questions? Any other questions for Brooke? Brooke, I really want to thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for getting the ball rolling
Thank
for
you.
us. And
Thank you so much.
we're going to work
Thank
towards
you.
getting this
Do we
done.
need to vote on this?
Yes. So we have a,
we have a motion
and a second on the floor.
Yep.
Any other discussion on New Milford being a B city?
Just so you know, I was listening in the car. Mike, you do a great job. It was so clear listening, coming in, so.
Awesome.
I did hear the whole thing.
All
so-
right.
So I am going to
Great.
vote.
All
since I
right.
didn't hear it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Great. Okay, item 6, Registrar of Voters. I'd like to move that we listen and take action on redistricting of the voting in the town of New Milford.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Chris. The reason why I asked for this to be on the agenda, when I was talking to Marcel and John, and they were informing me that due to redistricting, New Milford's going to have a new district, which Marcel and John will talk about. The thing that was very concerning to me was the fact that during this redistricting, which Marcel and John will talk about, you will hear that now some of our residents in the Gaylordsville area especially will have to travel over 13 miles to vote. I think that's egregious. I think it's a joke. And I think it's wrong. So
Okay.
I'll leave that there for a moment while Marcel and John talk a little bit more, and then as a council, we'll kind of talk a little bit more after they're done. Marcel?
Marcel, could you just let everybody know that Marcel Grenier
Yeah.
is one of the Registrar of Voters, and John Geiser is also.
And John Geiser's the other one.
Right.
And
I let Marcel do the talk.
I'm also going to state that we're both Vietnam-era veterans. That way, then maybe it'll stop people
Right.
from throwing things at us tonight.
There you go.
And thank you both for your service.
What I want to do is go over to the map. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible, but we can do. This is the new district map here, and this is the old one. So you can see what they're doing. What's happening before, we had District 3 and 4, which is here, the light green and dark green, which was the 108th district. But what they're doing now, which was Gaylordsville up here, which is here now, okay? Now before, all of Gaylordsville and part of New Milford was in District 4. What they're doing now is they're taking a portion, what's happened now is Gaylordsville is no longer the 108th. It's turned into part of the 67th. That's what it's done. So what's happened is, what they did with District 3 is the only district now that's going to be the 108th. And you can see what they've done. See, they came up, and what they did, they came up higher over here, if you can see it. So they extended District 3, which is 108th, a lot further than what it was. And they took, what they did was, see, before Gaylordsville, part of 4th was here, they extended it here now as part of District 5, because that's going to be the 67th. The only problem is I've called the state up. Actually, we talked to Bill Buckby, we talked to Pat Callahan, our representatives, to try to do something. They've done something, they keep coming back when the answer's not going to do anything. We talked to Mariah Moriarty, which I think she's pretty new with the state, because it's the first time I've talked to her. And she said that really is nothing we can do. They said they're stuck. We're stuck with the borders that we have. And the thing that angers me is that they won't even hear me out. They won't talk to us. You know, I'm trying to tell them that what's happening, our District 3 right now, because Gaylordsville, we have no place to vote. We have the firehouse, that's it. There is nothing else, another place to vote. And the problem is right now, it's actually right here on the far end of the corner. And they're asking people to travel all the way down to here, into District 3, which is Oddfellows Hall, if anybody's aware of it, on Route 7. I measured this as the crow flies, and it's 11 miles. So which means by road, it has to be 12 or 13 miles, which to me is just ridiculous. And what I'm trying to get the state to do, and unfortunately I haven't gotten anywhere with them, they won't listen to us. They keep telling us that this is the way it's going to be, this is the way it is. And I keep trying to explain to them that we'll even spend the money to do this, because this has become so complicated that we actually hired an outfit from Massachusetts, which was part of this redistricting, so they know what they're doing. And they can do it very quickly. What I would love to propose, I'm trying to get through to them, but I can't even get to them at all, is to take part of the old District 4, which is 67, and put it back where it was, to try to lower this area. But we can give them, if you notice what they did before, they added more to here. Well, what we can do is add it up here instead, where the voting district is. We can't even combine the districts in one place because the Galesville Fire Department, it's a two-bay garage.
Right.
So it's not like we can, put two districts. So right now, we're pretty much stuck, even though District 4 right now is actually going to become the 67th, which people are going to be very angry about that in Galesville to start with. But more than that, when they start traveling 11, 12, 13 miles to come and vote, I think it's just outrageous.
We still have not given up. We've been talking to Pat Callahan. We're going to try to, with Bill Buckby and Craig Lang, they're going to try to maybe go to the secretary and see if she will allow us to, because the people that made the new map, the AppGeo, which is somebody the town, the assessor uses and the zoning uses, they could massage those districts so that the number of people that we have in 3, there has to be a certain number. I think the number is 2,275 people, not voters, but population. If we can get that by moving the lines and get that 2,275. But the other thing we also have to be careful of, we also have to make sure that Bill Buckby doesn't lose any people.
No, well, we wouldn't do that because this map place that worked with them is very, very good. They worked with the state. And they have an incredible system. We've talked to them, and I know we can fix this. I know, whatever we would lose by moving this, in other words, say we brought District 3 down to here, what they did, if you notice, they took all of this away to start with.
Right.
We can add some of that back, so I know there's no doubt in my mind that they can balance this thing out. I just wish they would hear us out because we keep trying to explain to them that we don't have any other voting places.
Marcel, I have a question. What precipitated this, if it was reasonably equal, or was it not? And that's what precipitated this wanting to change it?
Well, what happened is they're evening things out, and the only good thing about all of this was the 67th is only in New Milford, which is great. It doesn't go into any other towns.
But we're split.
And then what they did, they went by the 2020 census. And they're going by population again, not voters. Is what they're doing.
We now have 3 representatives.
We got 3 representatives because I didn't get to that yet, but I was still on this. But the fifth, we're going to have an 8th district here, if you notice on your papers that you look at it.
I saw it.
Which was part of, they're taking part of 7 away, they're taking part of 2 and part of 1 away, which is going to be District 8, which is the 69th. So we're going to add a new representative to New Milford. So we're going to have 3 now instead of 2. It's a mess. So what's happened is because the biggest things that they did when they started messing with 3 and 4 and added this new district, they changed everything.
Yeah, we can use odd fellows, but the law requires or says that you've got to take all steps to make sure the polling place is in the district. There are no places in the 3rd district for voting. So we've got people going back to odd fellows because that's where they voted, most of the people in the 3rd district.
Right.
But they're not, the people coming down from Gailersville
are not going to be
happy. And
not going to be happy. They're
Okay, so I'm just going to say the thing that's probably a lot of people don't like, but it may not make a difference if sometime in the not too distant future everything's done electronically.
Yeah, but right now we're not at that, so.
Right, I agree,
Yeah.
I agree.
No, I agree. I wish it was,
Right.
some of it. But,
And at some point, how far anybody travels won't matter because it'll all be done electronically, but we're not there yet.
No,
We're the largest area town in the state, and as such, I think they need to pay more attention to our needs with this regard, because how do you divide the largest town, the largest landmass in the state, equitably? So who do we write to? Like, I think we could add more people instead of just you two gentlemen. Can we not all participate a little bit and
Well,
help
I
them?
think what's gonna happen is the state's not moving on this, and I think what's gonna happen is I'm gonna have the Secretary of State's number ready at every single district, because when this comes through, I'm gonna tell them, call Denise Merrill up. That's all we can do. Maybe if enough people call,
Right.
they're gonna change things, but right now, what angers me is they're really not willing to listen whatsoever. This is it, and that's it. That's it.
Well, to me, one of the cards we should play is that they were the largest landmass and the most difficult to divide, and we don't have large enough community spaces to offer voting. I mean, I have to drive now to Oddfellows, which I always thought was too far already.
Well, can you imagine what's gonna happen
Right,
now?
exactly right.
That's my point, you know?
So if you discover that there are people we can communicate with, I think we should.
Well, we're trying to. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to go through the steps of what we have to take. We even already checked with Randy. And there's not a whole lot we can, I don't know if you got anything to add to this, Randy?
No, you're handling it very well.
There's really,
That's funny. You might want to, for your education, redistricting is a political activity by the legislature.
yeah.
So there's no appeal. So the way to handle it is just what you said. Go to your legislators, because it's a political action.
And I think that's what's going to happen. Believe me, I'm going to make some letters out to make sure people don't even have to look up the phone numbers.
That's right.
I'm going to have them call when they show up to the poll. And I know this is going to happen because when we change a door 10 feet away from the door it is now, it goes on for years. I hate to tell you that. Even at Hill and Plain, when we went from the front to the back, last year, and this is after, this was right after Newtown, and up until last year was the only year I didn't have any complaints moving that door.
Change is hard.
So can you imagine doing this, what's going to happen? And I don't blame the people. I lived in Milford for 49 years here. This is outrageous. I've never, to ask somebody, and what's happening is, it's crazy because the Gaylordsville area is the highest percentage voting, for one thing. And yet they're going to ask these people, and there's a lot of elderly up in the Gaylordsville area, and they're going to ask them to drive 11, 12, 13 miles to go and vote. It's not going to happen. A lot of these people are just not going to do this.
Councilman Cosgrove?
So is there a committee in Hartford that's in charge of all of this?
Well, they assigned a committee is what they did to pick this out.
Right.
To start with is what they did. Again, the thing that angers me is what they should have done is after they picked this out is what they should have done and set this up to us 6 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever, and told them this is what we have plans.
Right.
And they should have let the registers or the towns have an input. Now, I understand it's very difficult to listen to 169 towns and say, I'm tired of hearing the same old thing. But what they really should have done is listen to each town, and this should have raised a red flag when we got back to them and saying, we got voters that are going. And the crazy thing about it, when they started this, the letter came out from the state and says, all your districts have to be, your polling places have to be in the districts. Well, guess what? We got 3 polling places, they're not even in the district, but they're close. So all of a sudden, when we argued that point, now they say, well, you can be close. Well,
Right.
So I would say, I appreciate you not just complaining about it, but also offering up a solution.
no, well,
And
the thing is, we're continuing, we have continued, we've gone, like I say, we talked to Randy, we talked to the mayor, we talked to, Greg Myers, we talked to Bill Buckby, we talked to Pat Callahan, we're trying to talk to the representatives and stuff. And again, they're still working on it too, hoping to get something, but unfortunately, they keep coming up with the same.
It just boggles my mind that the party in power who talks about making voting easier comes up with this.
Yeah, this is what I mean.
This is the exact opposite.
Exactly, and that's what angers the heck out of me. And not only is these people, you gotta remember these people now, that's in this area. See, this is the old section. In this area now, I'm gonna go to District 5, so they're gonna be traveling, the majority of people in town are gonna be traveling at least 5 to 6 miles to go to a voting place. That's
Marcel?
And yet I hear
Katie?
cities say they got so many voting places like Waterbury because they want
Right.
people to be able to walk to the polls. Good luck trying to walk to
Yeah.
this poll. Or any of
Marcel,
them, right?
I have a question, Marcel. So I understand the people, not the voters. However, do you believe that there is no influence as far as these districts in how they vote? Democratic, unaffiliated,
I could give my
Republican?
opinion on that, but it's just an opinion. I don't know that. you
Okay,
know.
so-
Right now, my biggest concern is for the voter. I don't
It's a
care if it's
legislative
Democrat,
decision.
Republican.
I'm just curious why they did something so odd. I mean, it's nuts.
I don't think they meant to do it. I think they just.
Didn't care, didn't look?
I think they handed them crayons and they
Can
really
you
should
get
have
that
taken it
number
away
to
from
us?
them.
Would you get your memo with the phone number
Any-
for,
Any other questions to Marcel?
yeah, give me
The
that phone
reason why I
number.
asked for
It's crazy.
action as well on this is I'd like to entertain if someone could give us a motion for the town council and the mayor to write to the legislature, to the governor, and to Secretary of State Denise Merrill to talk about our displeasure of this redistricting and how it's going to affect our residents, especially in Gaylorsville, that now have to travel 12, 13 miles.
Okay, amend my
Absolutely.
motion. Instead of just voting it on this, we will amend the motion to authorize the council and the mayor to take this in hand and contact and find out.
And Randy, could you help me draft that letter correctly?
And could each one of us sign it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, great.
So Katie, are you authorizing the council or the councilor?
The council
The town council?
and the mayor.
Okay.
Would it be better, Randy, to do individual councilors?
Well,
They
I
all-
think it's better as a deliberative body, frankly.
Yes, that's what I thought. So the council as a body,
No, I was asking the attorney, but you're asking the council and the mayor. Okay, got it.
yes.
That we want more information, what is the letter? Can you repeat what you said?
Well, he's gonna draft it
Okay.
with the attorney, with our town attorney, right?
I think it's gonna be one, I want them to
That's
the
change
Yep.
these
So
boundaries,
obviously, we'll all see it prior to going anywhere, but we need to make the motion that we can, with the mayor, move forward on it.
Is there a second to your amendment?
Second.
Chris Cosgrove was seconded, yes.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I'd like to
Marcel.
take just another half a minute very quickly on something because we have the new district here. And what's happening again, we had to create another, again, New Milford, right now we're working on the Walnut Hill Church up there to try to get in up there because there's nothing in that end whatsoever.
Right.
That's the problem with New Milford. And since they added something like this here, the materials just to buy another district are gonna be probably around $18,000. And create poll workers and everything. I mean, what they really did to us is not good here.
It is terrible.
So, I'm done, thank you.
Thank you, Marcel.
Thank
you.
Thank you,
John
John.
and Marcel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7, an update from Dr. Levin. Are you with us? Oh, good.
Mayor, Council, Jeremy Levin, 31 Hine Road, and what a privilege it is to be speaking after colleagues who are veterans. Terrific privilege to be in the city, in the town with them. Happy New Year to you all. I'm sorry that I haven't seen you in a while. I've issued you a report. I'd like to bring out some items on that report which are pertinent to the town. First of all, I have come to the conclusion it's no longer possible to understand or believe any of the global figures. They are gross underestimates. Right now we have probably upwards of anywhere close to 20 to 30 million people dead globally, and we just don't know how many people have actually had the disorder. The United States, a little bit clearer. We're moving upwards. We continue to move upwards. It's going to hit 1 million before we get to summer, almost certainly. But again, what's important here is that vaccination is taking place in a way which is very satisfactory. And unlike 2 years ago, we are moving in the right direction, and we will We will fight this enemy to the ground. It's a wicked enemy, but we will fight it. I think what's important with regard to vaccinations is continuity. We see this. Israel has decided to do its fourth vaccination, fourth injection. It has embarked on this. 250,000 Israelis over the age of 60 have been vaccinated. They have a nearly normal day-to-day life in Israel as a consequence of this. They've dealt with it very, very firmly. They deal with this. The army is running it with the Prime Minister and the Health Ministry. The three arms of government are actually treating it as an enemy. Consequence of that, Israel's economy is booming, and the number of deaths, while they do have deaths, they are very limited. I expect fully, and I hope, that our government takes note of that example and starts to think about when we all need to have the next vaccine. You might say, why do we need another vaccine? The answer is very simple. This was much like the first generation automobile. It didn't go very far, it used a lot of gas. This is exactly the same thing. They will improve these vaccines, and they will have a longer effect. Nevertheless, I think the lessons are very clear. Some people have stated that the Omicron is benign. I would like to... That statement has implications for public health and how we treat it. And as a consequence of that, in my report, you'll see that I want to figure on two things, and I will bring up a third. Number one, despite the early data from South Africa that people were not going to hospital as much as others, that led to a lot of press saying this is benign. There is absolutely no doubt that if you're vaccinated, the effects of Omicron are significantly less. How do I know that? I took a poll of a number of different doctors around the country, primarily at VAs, and the most recent was yesterday, where I spoke to one of the VA top doctors who basically said, look, this is a dumpster fire. It's not that, in fact, it's so dangerous for the vaccinated. It's that the unvaccinated are pouring in. Our doctors are exhausted, our emergency rooms are overwhelmed, and we can't cope with it. So we're seeing a surge. This is exactly like an attack of an enemy. We're understaffed. We're going to get hammered, not because of necessarily it being itself demonstrably much worse than Delta. In fact, to the contrary. But for sure, it's affecting the unvaccinated. Two other points about Omicron that really should give us some thinking around it. The first is long COVID. It's very clear that we now are getting a lot of data on this. We don't know why you get these syndromes, and there's a variety of them. It's ranging from fatigue all the way through to dizziness, fever. They come on young and old after a period of 3 to 5 months, and suddenly you start getting hit with it again. I was not sure what's going on exactly. There are theses, ideas that in fact this is due to microemboli, small little emboli being formed. There is no evidence yet. There's no understanding of that. We can't also predict who's going to get it, but what you can do is you can predict if you've had a bad dose of COVID, you are likely to have some form of long COVID. So the best data on that comes from Great Britain at this stage, where they have tracked over 250,000 people, and they can see that data playing out and telling us exactly that if you have 1 in 3 patients who had more features of long-term COVID, they get it 3 to 6 months later, and it's really tough. And they compared it, interestingly enough, with influenza. And it's much worse. They compared the data with what happens 3 to 6 months after influenza, because that's another viral infection, which I think is a fair analysis, and came to the conclusion that this is something which will be a problem. So despite the fact that long COVID, Omicron appears to be less in one sense, the long-term effects have yet to be assessed. The second, and without wanting to raise concern, the second is in these contexts of these issues, we're now beginning, the issues that occur after you've had the infection, we're starting to see some data which is interesting and should give us pause, particularly amongst young people. And amongst the young people, what we're seeing is a beginning of a trend to see more diabetes. And that diabetes, for those of you who think about this, diabetes is caused by destruction, by two things. One, a destruction of the cells in your pancreas that make insulin. That's what happens when you're type 1, early days. And then broadly, later days, your body stops responding to insulin. That's much more from diet. The first one, which you get in children, is often follows a viral infection. And what we don't understand exactly the mechanism, but it appears that we can see that Omicron or any COVID is attacking the pancreas. Now, 10% of America is actually a diabetic. Lots of us are. We know what it does to you when you get the disease. Now we're seeing that you may actually get a greater chance of getting the disease. The implications for the school districts are clear. You need to try and prevent the kids getting this if you possibly can. Vaccinate, separate, and do all the protection you can. So while that may sound like a grim prediction, it's the beginning of an understanding. And if we can understand it, we can defeat it. In the same way that we will defeat this with the new vaccines, with better vaccines, and with the medicines that are coming along. So as we go into 2022, I'm optimistic that by the end of 2022, we will have seen a significant diminution of the amount of COVID that we're seeing, significantly. There's only one item that I am concerned about, is that other nations and other places and places within America are allowing this to burn. There are firefighters here, they know what it is. If you don't put a fire out somewhere, it spreads. It's as simple as that. And what worries me and should concern us is that a variant which is like Omicron spreads super rapidly and is much more virulent. I've said this now for a year and a half. That is my biggest concern. And the only way to stop it in America is for us all to get vaccinated and all to be sensible about this. But I am optimistic. I know despite that dire warning, Mayor, I am optimistic because 2 years ago we had nothing. 1 year ago we started to have something. Now you've rolled out in the town a beautiful program and it's working really well and it might be tough on all of us and we're living with it. But I do know that we can learn from places like Israel where you actually can have an economy that runs with COVID and we're going to have one. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you'd be interested.
Any questions for Dr. Levin? Chris? Dr. Levin, thanks for coming back again. My question is more about trying to learn what's going on and especially the variants. And my understanding, and tell me where it's flawed, is that every time someone contracts COVID, there's the opportunity for the virus to mutate. So if we look at cases, and I totally agree with you, the worldwide numbers are wrong, but based on the ones that are published, the US, for example, has probably, South Africa has maybe 1/10 of the cases that the US has. And I believe South Africa has come out with maybe 2 variants, I believe, that have gone around the world. And I don't believe the US has any. So the difference of those numbers, I'm wondering, how does that work?
So the real place that this virus likes to hide and to mutate is when it can live for a long time inside a body. So it gets in there and it can stay. And the kind of body that it likes to live in is a body that is immunocompromised, a body that has HIV, a body that's under transplant suppression or something like that. So it can just go in there and replicate, and then suddenly it mutates. So for those of us who have an intact immune system, it can come in, but we can fight it off. We can stop that. So in America, the vast majority of people are not immunocompromised. In South Africa, boy, they are. I've treated tuberculosis, HIV in that country, and
Yeah.
it is rife.
That makes sense. Okay, great, thank you.
Katie?
Thank you very much for everything. Under the prevalence that you're seeing of children and the relationship with the diabetes, nothing though for adults in that realm?
Katie, no evidence of that yet. So this is the reason I bring it to you, is because I think it's important enough that our children be protected.
Right.
I've always been concerned. I've always, initially, as we all knew about COVID, we were so pleased to see that the kids were escaping. And I think,
Right.
Mike, you and I talked about this. The kids weren't harmed. They should go to school. And I agree with you in many parts. But what I didn't know, and what we're learning now, is that these kids have something else that's happening. They appear to be increasing certain other disorders that we weren't predicting. It's not the respiratory one. It's this idea that it is attacking the beta cells.
So we
And
view it as mild, but indeed there's a kicker at.
you bet.
Yeah.
I think we need to keep a serious eye on that. And that has implications for how the school districts handle this, how we consider really how we live our lives. But it doesn't mean we can't live with them. It just simply means we need to know that there
To
are
know of it.
consequences.
Right. Thank you.
Mike?
So the current vaccine and booster, is that still based on the original variant?
Yeah.
They changed it.
They haven't yet, Mike.
So-
There are 3 trials that I'm aware of going on, being run one by Moderna, where they've got a bunch of gamish of stuff in there, which is different kinds of viruses. It's different kinds of variants, and they're trying to see is that better or not. Then you have Pfizer's developing a combo, which is specific to the current variants, and they're trying to think through, and those are the 2 that I've seen.
Is there a timeline on that, or is it?
Yeah, there's a timeline. In fact, they should be delivering by the end of this month.
All right, because here's my question. So a kid that goes home and gets COVID while he's at home from college cannot return to school until he gets a booster. A booster based on the original variant, when he just got COVID, that's based more on the current variant, which Omicron is starting to push out the other variants in this country. And I don't understand how this country's gone to one medicine policy for the whole country, when that, in my mind, that's one case where you look at that kid and say, all right, he just got COVID, he had the vaccination last year, now he got COVID, so he's got that level of protection based on the current variant, yet that kid can't go to school unless he gets a booster, which I don't even know that's safe getting a booster 3 or 4 weeks after you've gotten COVID.
The latter is the case. It is safe. There's little doubt of that at this stage.
But is it needed? I mean, the whole point is do no harm. If it's not needed, if he's got protection from just getting COVID, I just don't see the need to have to go get a booster.
It's not clear he will have protection because the level of antibodies that he gets from that may not be adequate. What we do know is if you get the booster, as Israel has shown, is you get a 5-fold increase in your resistance by having that booster. The fourth injection.
So you've had cases, there's documented cases of someone getting COVID in December and getting it again in January, February, March.
Yes.
Well, because I know there's cases, I mean, I know, not just anecdotally, I know people have gotten, the booster have gotten COVID very recently. I don't know any cases of someone that's gotten COVID twice within a 3 or 4 month period.
But what is more important, which I think you and I probably agree, is that what you don't want is those people to go to hospital or be sick. And what's absolutely clear is if you've had COVID or you've had a vaccination or you've had COVID and a vaccination, the consequences of getting it again are incredibly diminished. Incredibly diminished.
The consequences of getting it again after getting COVID within a 3-month period is pretty diminished too. There is a negative, and you can say there isn't. There is a negative of a male in the 20-year-old age bracket of having some heart issues by getting COVID. I mean, getting the vaccine, especially if you recently had COVID. There's been cases of that. I'm not saying it's a huge number, but I bet you it's a bigger number than kids getting COVID twice within a 3-month period.
No, every single side effect's important. It doesn't matter I mean, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
so I mean,
but
I don't understand the push for that particular kid. It's just, I don't understand how we lost an individualized medicine in this country, that a doctor can look at this kid and say, you know what, you're very healthy, you just had COVID, you do not need to get the booster. It doesn't make sense. And that doctor's not allowed to say that because it might create vaccine hesitancy if, you know, a doctor starts saying stuff like that, because no matter what happens, that kid goes to UConn, he's gotta get the booster.
Any other questions for Dr. Levin? Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Next, update from our Health Director, Lisa Marcy. Lisa?
Good evening, everyone. It's always an honor and a challenge to go after Dr. Levin because he delivers such an excellent report and usually takes the wind out of everything that I was going to say, and it usually, to the benefit of the council, cuts my report in half. There are just a couple of things that I just wanted to touch on really quickly before starting to my report. To your question, Chris, about the variants, there are well over a dozen variants that started here in the U.S. I think that one of the misconceptions is that there's only a couple of variants that are promoted in the media, and as Dr. Levin will tell you, that we have so many, and very few of them get named.
But there's different levels of variants of concern, et cetera.
Correct.
And it's the ones of concern that
Correct.
I'm really talking
Yep.
about.
And, you know, in 2020 is a great example because I just got kicked out of the fact that New Haven had a variant, but New York City didn't have a variant when we were like in the spring of 2020. So I just say that because it's interesting because the most prevalent strain that was floating around New York City was the New Haven in the spring of 2020. So wanted to start with that. And then the other piece, I just wanted to expound a little bit more when we were talking about diabetes in kids. That the data, if you guys wanted to look it up, it was released by the CDC on Friday. It was a meta-analysis, and a meta-analysis is when they look at multiple studies. And the one thing that they saw across all of the studies was that they were seeing an increased risk in children, particularly in the 30 to 60 days after that they had a COVID-19 infection. And the effect of that, the risk, so we call it relative risk in epidemiology, was increased in unvaccinated children, or undervaccinated, meaning they didn't complete their series. So I wanted to talk about that, just to say that if you wanted to see the data for yourself, I think it's pretty telling, and it was pretty alarming, actually. I think Pete and I talked about it earlier. So when we think about where the health department will be in the next couple of years and we plan for programmatic planning, we're considering that as part of things that we'll see, because it's not just in kids, we're also seeing the long hauler COVID effects, and I think that the economic impacts of that and how it impacts the community cannot be understated, so there are things like that we take into account. So now that I said all of that, let me talk a little bit about a little closer to home. So since, I think you guys are getting them, we're doing our weekly COVID-19 reports. So since the report at the end of the year, we had 181 new cases as of last Friday. Unfortunately, we've been seeing additional deaths in New Milford. I think we're up to 9 or 10 since early November. Our case rate had almost doubled between mid-November and the end of the year. We're still seeing a substantial number of cases coming into the health department as reports. But, and I was sharing this with Pete as well, the vast majority of cases that we're seeing are still from last year. There were exposures that happened around New Year's, and we're still getting reports from people who tested around Christmas time. And a lot of the delays are because of how overwhelmed all of the laboratories are. And then I've answered this for a couple of residents, so I think it's worthwhile stating for everyone who's listening at home as well, and for council members who aren't aware of this. Most of the COVID-19 labs that we're sending out across the state, they're not actually analyzed here in Connecticut. They actually go out to New York, they're going out to Massachusetts, they're going out to Texas, they're going all over to try to how would you say, just disperse the load of the activity. So sometimes, between the courier and getting it on the airplane, getting it there, getting it read, and you're really competing with the volume that's being sent to that individual laboratory. So our larger laboratories have gotten really good about redistributing based upon volume that's coming in. But it's just something to be aware of, because we always think about things that are happening right here without being aware of the fact that most of these are being sent further out, because we don't have the capacity within the state to do all of them. Our positivity rate in New Milford has been fluctuating daily, so I think you've seen the states that we're hovering around about 24%. Depending on the day that you ask me, We have not gone below 18% in the last 2 weeks, and our highest has been 31%, which was particularly alarming that day. But we've generally been about the same as the state, plus or minus 2%. When we talk about vaccinated, our number of residents who completed both doses of their mRNA or a single dose of the Johnson & Johnson, fantastic. We have some of the best rates in the area. When we talk about boosters, not so much. So just based upon the volume that we've been seeing and what we've been hearing from our partners and looking at the statewide and county level analysis, we still have a lot of people who have not received their boosters. And while we're working to increase the number of clinical capacity that we have by partnering with Griffin, partnering with Nuvance, I think that it says a lot that people chose not to get boosted in November and December, and then when the numbers exploded, the demand went through the roof in January. So now everybody wants to get boosted, and so now we're back to seeing a lot of the demand and the availability of appointments. We're trying to pivot to keep up with that. On the same page, our hospitals are also being taxed really heavily, so I feel like it was not that long ago that I was standing in front of the council talking about we're really nervous about the effect of the flu and COVID-19. Well, that's what we're seeing because, almost half of the hospitals in the state are very close to capacity or at capacity. And that, again, our partners, Nuvance, experiencing similar. So I think that is important to be aware of because people get a very singular line of thought and they're thinking that it only impacts me if I have COVID-19. Well, appendicitis, heart disease, kidney stones, it doesn't matter what you have. If you go to the hospital, it's the same thing that I say to my two youngest kids. You can only spend money once, you can only spend your resources once. So the bet is a bet is a bet. So it's something to be aware of. And when we talk about getting boosted and getting vaccinated, it's part of that community effort because if we don't do it, then the resources are drained from the community. So I think those are the big pieces out of the report to be aware of. The other pieces, do you want me to talk about testing and the kits or?
Sure. I mean, I'm going to piggyback off of you. So.
Okay. So we do have testing at John Pettibone Community Center. I'm sure everybody in this room probably has heard about how overrun it has been with people. If you've ever had to drive, past it, in the last 2 weeks you've seen, like every time I go by, like, oh my gosh, look at that line. So when we first started, we were at about a capacity of about 500 cars a day they were doing. And because of the long delays, and again, we go back to that laboratory capacity piece and the delays in people getting the results back, we had talked to the vendor who's doing that, and they're down to about 250 cars to 300 cars a day, and you can see for yourself, it's the demand, no matter when you go, once they're open, the line is there, and that's by appointment only. The town started doing the test kit distribution. Our emergency management director, Jim Furlow, really spearheaded that with the mayor's office. The health department, our role was really in the background to help kind of do the appointments and then answering it and making the information available to residents as to what to do if you test positive, what to do if you test negative, who do you have to tell, how do we report those things. We still have test kits that are available, so I think that those are going through the mayor's office. I think some of the appointments are still available for this week, not too many though. I mean, they went like that. Positive news though, if you were unable to get that, I think we still have more that we're going to release after this. In addition to that, similarly, the retail supply chain, it's really hit or miss. So if you go to call CVS or Walmart and you don't get it on Monday, odds are on Tuesday or Wednesday they might get some in, so it's worthwhile checking. I know that our office also does a lot of calling as well to see what that looks like, but I know it's really difficult to get tested now. We've been working with the schools to make sure that families who have symptomatic household members but can't necessarily get tested, to make sure that we keep kids home even if we can't get a test, because that really has been one of the constraints, because people call and they say, I can't get tested, I can't get a test kit, but I'm symptomatic, and what do we do? So we talk about that, and the answer was always stay home. So if you're sick, it doesn't matter what you're sick with, stay home.
So Lisa, we get questions from the public as to what is the real proper protocol. So if I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, I have a sore throat or have a headache, do I immediately go and get a test kit and test myself for COVID?
So assuming that you can get your hands on one, if you are symptomatic, taking a test kit is always a great idea. If you've been notified that you have an exposure and you're not feeling symptomatic, waiting a couple of days. So that's one of the things that I think a lot of people get wrong, and it happens all the time. I talk to, I can't even tell you how often we talk to folks in the situation. They were notified that they had an exposure on Monday, they go and test on Tuesday, then they're negative and they think all is good. They've tested too soon. We hear that a lot, and we keep telling people that you have to wait. The recommendation is really to wait about till day 5 after that exposure to test. If you're testing on days, 0, 1, and 2, and even day 3 is kind of iffy, you're testing too soon. That false negative, particularly if you're using an antigen test, the risk for a false negative, it is increased tremendously there. So if you took a PCR test, I would still tell you the same thing if you test that early. Now, the recommendations for how long you have to stay out really depends on which environment we're talking about. My answer changes depending on if you work in healthcare, if we're talking about a K through 12 student, which university you go through. So if you actually go to the town website and you visit the health department page on COVID-19, we actually have recommendations for businesses. We have the recommendations and guidance for our families that have K through 12 students, and we also have for healthcare institutions up there as well. So we have a couple of different pieces. We also have information if you did test positive with the home kit and you're looking for some additional guidance as to what you should do, or if you want to notify us of the results, that can also be found on the town website.
Any other questions for Lisa? Chris?
Not really a question, just, and I know some people in the public have complained about, well, maybe the testing changed, we have a third party, results don't come back. All I want to say is that, as far as I can see, we are one of the few towns that has testing available, that we are doing testing, we're giving out kits. So I appreciate everything that's gone into that, and I know it's not easy managing that. But we are giving our citizens the option, and testing is a big part of this whole thing. So I just thank you and the mayor for setting all that up.
No, and again, I've talked to a lot of folks who are really frustrated with the process, and my heart goes out because I know what that's like when you're waiting for those test results, and it is difficult. But like you said, we have the opportunity and the option, and that's something that not everybody has. Driving an hour and then having to sit in line for 3 hours, I think would be slightly more frustrating than, staying in your own neighborhood and having to wait in that line. And then to that effect, I will also say that we are working to increase additional capacity. So we, through the district, they actually just did a posting to do more hiring for more nurses to do swabbing. So looking forward to that increased capacity to do more testing, particularly around the rapid PCR testing, where we would get the results back in 30 minutes. So that will be really exciting once that happens.
Sal?
So I just have a question. Do you think you're overwhelmed at this point, that you're at the capacity, and like tomorrow, let's say something happens tomorrow, it's Omicron 2 or 3, whatever that would be.
For the health department?
Yeah, I'm talking about Connecticut. What feel do you have from the state? Is our system at the stage of, I don't know, we'll get another variation of something like this on this coming Monday? Will it all collapse?
I hope not. That would be very scary. But in honesty, the system is being taxed really hard right now. Our healthcare partners, our public health partners, the system is pretty much at capacity. We're talking about a population of people. We have not had a break since December of 2019.
The reason I ask is because the government Lamont sent the executive order on Friday, extending the emergency thing until the February 15th. And there's about 7 or 8 points in there. One of the first points is basically he's allowing different facilities now to provide what they call it, like hospitalization or something. It's very vague in a statement. I didn't get anything out of the word that was used. So I was wondering if this is something that people in your field are they looking to get into, because you just mentioned not too long ago that the new ones, the hospital that we have, is at the capacity. I went to the hospital's website, it doesn't say anything about capacity. It says you can pay your bill here or there, and whatever the testing if you want to have, doesn't say anything. On the website, I went to the ct.gov as well. They don't alarm like it's like we're all about to die on Monday or anything like this. So I'm trying to find out whether or not what we're hearing in the news and what we're getting out of the ct.gov website, which one is true and what exactly we're standing.
So to answer your question about capacity, so for as long as I've been in this business, I can tell you that every single flu season, we come pretty darn close to coming to capacity. And sometimes we've had diversions, across the state at different hospitals because we're at capacity. When you take a system that before the pandemic was already pretty strained, when like season like this, and we talked about that over the summer, it was one of the things that we were really pushing into the flu clinics and everything else to try to help alleviate that. And I've never seen those numbers publicized. So it's something that internally that the Connecticut Hospital Association, they report to the state will ask local health to help, with messaging and campaigns like that. But it's nothing that I've ever seen that anybody publishes on their website. And then to the point that you were making about how that impacts the different facilities, I'm not quite sure which one you're referring to, but I'm going to go out on a limb and assume it's the one that was most widely publicized, which is the nursing home. Is that one of the ones that you're thinking about?
I don't know, I just read the executive order signed on Friday,
Okay.
that was it, and it was pretty vague, so I figured maybe someone knows more than I do, because there was nothing else on the CD.
So a lot of it has to do more so with when we're not in a pandemic, there are certain rules that don't allow facilities to take patients that have a communicable disease. Similarly, there's a lot of nuance and subtext that happens public health wise that I think that the general public it doesn't ever hit the radar. So for example, I'll give you an example of what I mean. So if someone were to pass away in New Milford, right? And your family wants to take your body out of this country, because maybe you're an immigrant to this country and you want to go, they want you to be buried back home. You can't do that unless you get a letter from a director of health. You just can't do that. They had to amend the process in which we can do that because of the pandemic to make sure that that still happened in a fashionable way, especially when we're talking about so many things happening at once. Similarly, if you have an infectious disease and you're at the hospital, there was a lot of regulations about the hospital letting you leave and go back to a skilled nursing facility before you clear that infection. So a lot of what happens in the executive orders, it really is to amend the processes to give us more flexibility so that we can open up more space at the hospitals or to allow families to grieve properly or to make sure that all of these processes are not backlogged by bureaucratic red tape.
Hillary?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, sort of in the capacity vein, what do you see as the biggest obstacle to, doing more testing? You say there are lines around the block, but we're not even getting everybody, or having booster clinics. I mean, what is the greatest barrier for you? Is it finance, or is it, body, people to actually do the work, or what are the greatest barriers to sort of growing?
It's not unique to New Milford Health Department. And as I was just saying to Sal, this is the same group of people who've been doing this since December of 2019 without a break. So we're seeing the same problem that our healthcare professionals are seeing in the hospitals and doctor's office. People are tired. They're tired, they're exhausted. They've been going and going and going. And we are the cavalry. So when your cavalry is tired and when your cavalry is sick, because don't forget, the same population that gave you your cases or the same population that your workforce comes out of. So talk to anyone who works in the hospital right now or nursing home or public health department, and they'll tell you a good percentage of their team is down with COVID themselves, because not only are they coming to work to take care of sick people, they have families that are the same. You get where I'm going with this? So it's the same challenge that we're all facing. I think that's the thing that gets lost in the details, is that we're all one community. So your healthcare professionals, your public health workforce, your laboratory workers, they're coming from the same population. We could probably find people and we could increase testing, and maybe we can get to 1,000 people a day going through testing. That doesn't mean that the laboratory has anybody there to work to process 1,000 samples, because their staff are at home with COVID too. So that's the balancing act. It's not necessarily just thinking that you can increase it on one side. The whole system has to be able to absorb that capacity.
Any other question, Lisa? Mike?
Yeah, real quick. When someone does call the health department and says they're positive, is there something you're telling them to do to keep from getting to the hospital? Is there a protocol, or is it just stay home and isolate? Do you guys?
So we do advise them on the warning signs as to when they should be going to the hospital.
But before, so it doesn't get to that. Is there something we have some kind of protocol or no?
In terms of medical advice, so this is and you and I have talked about this, I think, at the council meeting. Only doctors physician assistants or nurse practitioners can actually give medical advice. We're prohibited from giving medical advice because that is a legal piece. You have to actually, have the licensure appropriate for that. So that's a very clear piece there. The warning signs and the things that you can do to help yourself recover. So self-care, we'll talk about what self-care looks like, when to call your medical professional, when to go to the hospital, when it's appropriate to go to urgent care. Those are things that we comment on, but we cannot give medical advice.
Okay. Any other questions for Lisa? Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Appreciate the
Thank you.
update. Thank you very much.
Mayor, item 9?
Thank you. Thank you to the council and the public. Real quick, staying on COVID, just as an update to the council concerning the test kits. As you may or may not know, Governor Lamont, the week before New Year's, we were on a call. Lisa was on that call as well, where he talked about the ability to get test kits from the state. Unfortunately, the state had thought that they had gotten test kits. Well, they didn't. Those test kits were sold to someone else, so the state scrambled to get test kits. A lot of our municipalities worked on getting together how we were to distribute these test kits. And we were told by Homeland Security that we should really follow a protocol. And that protocol was not, and I repeat, was not to just hold a thing, throw them up in the air, or just let everybody fight for them, as some municipalities did. They wanted to make sure that it was an equitable distribution. They wanted to make sure that residents of all means were able to get some forms of the kit for the amounts that the towns got. So I really want to be clear to the public and to the town council, we did not get one test kit for every resident. We got very, very few. We got about a third for the residents. For the test kits, correct. So then how do you manage, if you have 29,000 people, how do you manage getting them 3,000 test kits? What's the most equitable way we could do that?
Start with the council.
So, there you go. So in speaking with our EOC director, Jim Furlow, Lisa, myself, one of the things that we thought the equitable way, most equitable way would be, is to have a reservation system. So you could go in, you could opt in, and within that as well, when you did reserve that, it had some basic questions on there as well. Your ethnicity, some other factors as well. So we could make sure if Homeland Security or the government are asked, how did we distribute these and to who did we do? They also asked us to make sure that we had some for our most at need, which we did do. For our seniors, which we did do. For our first responders, which we did do and continue to do. Also, I'd like to thank Jim Furlow, our EOC director. I'd like to thank Kevin Reynolds, who's our fire marshal. I want to thank Ed Pagan, our assistant fire marshal, our CERT team, our New Milford police force, and everybody. We've had 2 distributions, and everybody says how great they were. There was no fights. There was no issues. There was no traffic jams that some other towns had. We had a very, very good distribution both times. The third time now distribution is we're actually having it in the mayor's office. People have opted in. We're doing it Monday through Friday, and that should pretty much, for this round, allocate all of our test kits. We're hoping to get additional ones. At least we're being told that we may get some. If we do, we're going to put out that reservation system again. But so far that seems to work, and if the state was ever to ask us how we did, we have the proof to show that we did it in a fair and equitable manner. And for those that have not gotten one yet, I wish the town of New Milford had one that we could give to everyone. Unfortunately, the state can only give us so many. We're hoping for more, and I will give the town council an update as we continue to move through with that as well. Also, we received a tremendous amount of N95 masks. We gave some to our school partners. We've also been giving those out when we've been giving out the test kits, and we're also going to hold a town-wide distribution of those on 1/15/21. That's from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Pettibone. So if you do want to get some N95 masks, we do have those available at that town-wide distribution. And we've also been giving those to our other at-needs community, first responders if they so choose to get those. as well. Also staying on COVID response, our vaccine statistics here in New Milford, and this is dated 1/6/2022. This is with a 7 to 10 day look back. For first doses, the town of New Milford is at 21,662, which is 80.81% of our population. Fully vaccinated is at 19,407, which is 72.4%. As far as our roads infrastructure, we continue now. We had closed out our construction season of the roads where we did over 62 miles of roads. Now, Public Works Director Jack Healy and their team, the engineers, are working on preparing the bid specs for the 2022-2023 paving projects. We're also setting up the tentative schedule for the paving projects, and we're also going to be doing presentations as we do each and every year for the roads that are going to be done. We invite the residents to come in and to view that. We're also finalizing the Squash Hollow drainage repairs because that road will be done in the spring. And we're also working with a grant with the federal government on the Pumpkin Hill intersection design. As far as our bridge work that's going to be done for Tamarack Road, for a Tamarack Bridge, it's been sorely taking a long time due to the Army Corps of Engineers. As Jack can say, as he's back there, Black & Warner expects the aluminum pipe to be delivered in about 6 weeks. We will then look to be shutting down that road to get that pipe in place and get that bridge culvert finally fixed. Also, we're working on the Chernersky road bridge. We're going to be having a public hearing on this particular bridge at right before our next town council meeting. WMC is preparing an inspection report for our application. Our Mud Pond Road Bridge is nearing completion. The delivery of the rail components may hold up the opening. We do have some material shortages, unfortunately, nationally, and we will update the council when that happens. As far as our roof projects, the high school roof project is on schedule. A large shipment of panels is expected next week. If you do happen to go down there, you can see some of the work already being done. We have been working with the contractor due to the fire that happened, and Jack and the Board of Education Facilities team are working hard in making sure that all the remediation is completed on that. The town hall roof project is on schedule and on budget. As far as our energy program that we're working on, that we're using the cost savings of the energy to do about $15 million worth of capital upgrades. That is continuing on time. And want to thank Jack and his team. Also want to thank our municipal building committee, who's been doing a yeoman's job in our roof projects, and can't thank them enough for their hard work. Roof repair work has started on Pettibone. As far as the dams, Jack and his team submitted a work schedule to DEEP for the reservoir dam that the town council and the public graciously approved the funding for that much needed work. The DPW team is also preparing the MS4 report, and that's going to be completed in January. And Jack did a wonderful thing last year. One of the things we're looking at is training the new generation, right? A lot of these jobs require a lot of expertise and also experience. So Jack started an intern program that we've had some wonderful interns come in, and we're continuing to work with UConn as well. And he's preparing, again, another successful year for our interns. Also, we're working on the Route 7 sidewalk project. That's continuing to be worked with our consultant Beta, and I'll have more information as we become more involved in that sidewalk program in the spring. As far as the New Milford Police Department, I was speaking with our Chief Ceruto, and he wanted to give me some stats that I could present to the town council. We had our opioid task force meeting today, and our yearly stats as of December 31st. Total overdoses, when you're looking at a 3-year comparative, in 2019, New Milford had 43. In 2020, we had 35. And this year, we've had 22. Opioid overdoses, was at 2019, 28. 2020 was 25. In 2021, we were at 14. Overdose deaths, and it's unfortunate that we have any. In 2019 was at 5. 2020 is at 4. 2021 is 1, with maybe 1 pending. So we do see some data that shows that what we are doing is being successful. By no means are we done. We need to continue to be very vigilant and work on providing opportunities for people that are addicted to get services, much needed services. And also, the other rail is to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law anybody that sells any illegal drugs in our town. We will not tolerate that at all. And we want to thank Chief Ceruto and the men and women of the Milford Police Department for their vigilance, as we've seen some very big cases here that they have been able to apprehend. So we want to thank them for that as well. Some of the other things as well is our library. Katie and I speak to our contractor weekly. And one of the things we were looking at is the availability. Well, currently, I'll give an update. They're continuing with framing of the interior walls, the caulking, the installing of the door hardware and trim pieces, installation of the diffusers on the first floor. They're working on the ducting and heat pumps, second floor lighting. One of the things that I'd asked the contractor was we were looking at doing a soft opening in January. Where are we, and can we do a soft opening in January? Unfortunately, we cannot. There's material shortages. Also, there were shortages in COVID within the subcontractors, which delayed the ability to get all this much needed work done. I spoke with the Library Board of Trustees, and the goal was we were looking to do a soft opening, and their thoughts were, and I concur, that we're going to wait until it's fully done so we can fully open this all at once. The projected time for that is going to be sometime in June. I will update the council as we move forward on this more, but I know Katie has been intricately involved as I have, and I know it's not the news we want to hear, but that's the environment that we're in right now. We have shortages of material and labor. Those council people that Lorna, who's here, invited to the library can see how beautiful this library is going to be. State of the art. It's going to be a wonderful thing. So when it does open, it's something we all can be super proud of. Getting back to the Milford Police Department too, we did a full-blown effort with your support, the council support, for additional funding for traffic enforcement. It's one of the things that we've heard a lot about. We've paved some of these new roads. We've seen some people go a little faster on those roads. And we've seen with the expansion of Route 7, we've seen a lot of additional higher velocity vehicles on the road as well. So traffic stops from November 1st to December 31st. The Milford Police Department did over 270 traffic stops. So I want to thank the police department for their continued vigilance on that, especially when it comes to bus stop safety. And I want to again remind our public that is watching is if a bus is red lights come on and there's not a median if you're going the opposite direction, you must stop for the bus. If you're behind the bus and the bus puts on its red lights, you must stop and not go around. If the police department sees it, you'll get a ticket and it's over $400. Not only that, it's being safe for these kids and the bus drivers. So please, let's all do our part. Also yesterday, Sunday, was National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And I know I can count on the council to say we appreciate and thank the men and women of the Milford Police Department for all their efforts in keeping our town safe.
Here, here.
So thank you to Chief Ceruto and all those men and women. Speaking with Bill Murphy, who is our building inspector, we're still seeing strong growth in our permit process. And one of the things, he showed me some of the data from the beginning of this fiscal year, so for the municipalities, that starts in July. till the end of the year. They did 1,081 applications. They've taken in already $302,117.79. They've already done 1,363 inspections, and they've issued 1,338 permits. So in talking to Bill, we continue to see strong growth, which is wonderful for our town as we continue to move the town forward, and I'll have more information as we move forward in that respect as well. So good news for us here in New Milford. Youth Agency, Jason O'Connor was here today. He had to leave as he had a meeting with his commission. But I want to talk again about COVID in response here in New Milford. So we looked at the short term, right, which is how do we immediately help our residents with COVID. Starts with vaccines, starts with testing, starts with being vigilant. In the very beginning, we didn't know much about it, so we had to do some other things too, right? We had to shut down some of our facilities under Governor Lamont's order. Some of the parks, we wanted to make sure they were for New Milford residents. We closed them to New Milford residents. When the vaccines came and we knew a little bit more about it, we opened things back up, right? And allow things to prosper. But we also knew that there's some things that are going to be long-term. One of them is we noticed when the schools went to a hybrid model or when they were closed down altogether, we knew there's going to be ramifications to that. We knew that with that, there's going to be child depression, child isolation, and all sorts of mental issues that will affect our children now and in the future. So I asked our youth agency, I also asked our Park and Rec team, and we've been talking with our Board of Ed partners, what can we do as a town to help? So one of the things we did was created our youth agency therapy program, and Jason will be talking a little bit about that in the next week, but it's come with some great success stories already. They've already been able to help some kids, and it's great to see, and we'll continue to do so. We also taken on helping our whole child care industry here in New Milford. We have Brian Hembrook that leads those weekly calls to make sure that everybody's up to date in partnership with our Board of Education. Also, we're going to be looking to take the lead on some other things too. We're going to be creating educational programs in partnerships with our Board of Ed and our New Milford Police Department when it comes to vaping, when it comes to cyberbullying, which is a very big problem. And we're going to be attacking these things and addressing these things because they're all ancillary to this issue, which is COVID. And we're going to continue to work on that. We've also come up with social and emotional programs with the school. Wingman is one of them that I can't thank Jason enough. And we also have a juvenile review board for if we have some youth happen to get into some trouble, rather than having to go to Waterbury court system, they can come to our juvenile review board. And we can help with that. Also through the youth agency, we have a kindness campaign that they're working on. They're doing mentoring and tutoring. One of the things I think is pretty cool, next meeting, you'll see the youth agency leadership. The young kids will come here, give us an update on what's going on with the youth agency, and also sit in here on town council and see how town council government works. They're also going to be doing some additional podcasts. They've done a suicide awareness PSA, and we're just very excited at that. Also, our Park and Rec is looking to create some additional activities for our youngsters to get them outside more, enjoy more atmospheres. We know trying to get more of that vitamin D, that's also going to be very, very helpful and give them something to do. So with that being said, just a couple more quick things. Want to thank our DPW and Park and Rec teams for all their work this past week during these ice storms that we've had. Done a tremendous job. I want to thank our police department and our firemen that are here as well that answer the call. Ladies and gentlemen, I see it firsthand. Could be 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. They're the people that go and help our community. I can't thank them enough. It's remarkable. Also want to thank our New Milford grad party. Jed McSherry was here today, and the entire New Milford grad party committee. And what they do, for those that don't know, they have a committee that helps with the grad party. That grad party's been going around how long now?
Years.
Years and years. And that, they have a party for those seniors, graduation night, rather than going out and, maybe getting into a dangerous situation. They can go and have a lot of fun during graduation night, either at the high school last couple of years for COVID, they went up to Quasi, but they do a great thing. So they had their raffle today, and I just want to thank all the sponsors. And if you're interested in helping or donating to the grad party, you can go to their website, nmhsgradparty.org, and help out. And that's helping out our wonderful seniors. Also want to congratulate the New Milford High School wrestling team as they took second place in the Bristol Invitational. Great job. And the New Milford Northwestern Ice Hawks Bantam A team ice hockey. And they won the Christmas Classic tournament. Now I'm probably going to mispronounce some names, so I'm going to probably get yelled at afterwards. But Kieran Heslin, Lucas Delmonico, Mason Kolchinsky, Miles Wilson, Cullen Sturdivant, Jake Newman, Dylan Stein, Will Neeb, Garrison Kolbensky, Bryce Schnapfer, Mike Holton, Cedar Velez, Brody Dieter, and coaches Matt Delmonico, Gary Gombensky. Outstanding work. Also, congratulations to the New Milford girls 7th grade basketball team. They won the Danbury Powell Holiday Hoops Tournament. And lastly, want to thank Park and Rec Director Dan Calhoun and his team, as they are, again, for those if you still have your Christmas tree in your yard or you want to take it down, they're accepting Christmas tree disposals at Clatter Valley up until February 1st. And I'll be updating the council at the next meeting concerning our budget. Thank you, Katie.
Okay, so we'll move on to road closure, item number 10. And note that what I'm going to read, this is the Mariel Center for the Arts. They're requesting the closure of Chapel Hill Road for their 2022 performances. This closure is only if it's required because the field across from the center is too wet to use, which can happen. So they'd like to close from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. on. These are all 2022s. April 30, May 21st, June 4th, June 18th, June 25th, July 16th, July 30, August 27th, and September 10th, and October 15th, and then from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on January, February, March, April, May 8th, August 14th, September 18th, and then on Sunday, from 1:30 to 4 on September 25th. We're going to have a test on these dates. I hope everybody was listening. So this is all pending approval from the traffic authority. Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Tom's still there.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Any abstentions? Thank you.
Item 11, I'd like to move that the council approve the town of New Milford joining into the Housatonic Health District, also known as the Pomparog Health District.
So we had our public hearing this evening.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. So we had a public hearing this evening. Now the next step is for the town council to approve the joining of the New Milford Health Department into the Housatonic Health District. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hillary?
Yeah, I remembered that there was some discussion about it being around a $90,000 savings in the
Yes.
budget. Was that about right, 90?
Yeah, about 90,
3 or 6.
92, 93, somewhere around there, right?
Was it there?
It's either 94 or 96.
Yep.
Which I think is incredible, because we heard, pretty much the services are gonna be monitored and maintained as, just as good as they are. I guess there's some consideration for, or some, I'd like to just state that maybe that goes into the budget towards the schools, or we talk about how that gets absorbed in the budget, or, how that gets reallocated, that savings.
I know, it seems
And I'd like to
the
see it go in
use the
schools.
money now anyway. A little long. Is there,
Any, Mike?
Any other?
just a quick comment, And I'm assuming the way we're doing it's gonna be a great situation, but if it doesn't work out, is it a permanent thing, or do we have?
We have
options
the
to back
ability
up?
to opt out, correct? Yep.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay, item 11B, discussion and possible action on cannabis use on town of New Milford property. And this, Mayor, I believe reverts back to another decision, something that we voted on, right?
Correct. So the council had voted on us to move forward with setting a ordinance and how we go about doing that for prohibiting cannabis use on any town property. So I'd ask Randy to kind of update the council and then kind of what are the next steps in doing that?
Well, you've already
Randy?
enacted the ordinance.
Right.
Yep.
So that's something that has to be enforced. We enforce it with the police department. We have no further jurisdiction over cannabis. Unless 10% of the electors decide to have a town meeting to determine whether or not cannabis will be sold in the town, the town council has no jurisdiction to set a town meeting for that. The reason for that, the research tells us, the legislature wanted to encourage the sale. And they want it to be done by legislative body action, that is town meeting action. Unless you get a petition, no matter what town you might read in the paper, if they didn't get a petition of 10% of the electors, then I question the validity of that town meeting. Because the statute's pretty clear. Now, having said that, that hasn't been advertised in this town, that here's how you do it. And it's a question as to whether, as a policy, you want to encourage such a petition and such a vote or not. Right now, we do nothing else. The zoning commission will determine, and I take it the chairman's going to be speaking with you at the end of the month. The zoning commission will determine where it can be sold, if there's going to be a dispensary. And by the way, there's only going to be one allowed in this town by state statute, at least for the next 2 fiscal years. So the bottom line is that the town's done everything it should do. The zoning commission has the issue. They've discussed it. They've told me that they wish to only allow it in the same zones that they allow medical marijuana sales. And it's going to be up to the social equity council, which is appointed by the state, to determine who the seller is going to be, who's going to get the license. So it's totally out of our hands.
So Randy, I just want to go back a minute, because the item B was, that's why I was asking the mayor. We did approve the ordinance.
You enacted the ordinance.
Enacted it, excuse me, wrong term, that no cannabis on town property.
Right.
That one's already done. So the item B,
I think the
Mayor.
question might have been related to whether or not this would be trumped by the state statute. The answer is no.
I know, I just want to know, because of on our agenda, that we address this properly, so, okay.
It's a valid ordinance.
Yes, it's a valid ordinance, and now we segue down to C, which is what you're talking about.
Right.
And what do we?
Any questions on, Joe?
For those who read some of the papers, nationwide papers, New York Times had a wonderful article just about 2 weeks ago about what a disaster selling cannabis is in the state of California, so much so because this is quintessential problem with government regulation between California's regulation and significant taxes, which kind of is the appeal for these states, this tax revenue, that has pushed the sale of marijuana or cannabis or whatever the heck you want to call it back into the black market, back into the illegal drug sales, because it is cheaper to buy in the black market and off the streets than it is in these stores. So this is a perfect example of state legislatures. And this might be true. I call them feel-good laws. I guess this might be one of those feel-good laws. What a disaster it is. So I remember Mayor James said something about 2 weeks ago, and because it gets laced with stuff, it's safer in store sold. But the problem is, it's gotten so out of control by literally poor government regulation and overtaxing. It's gone back into the black market. So like the article about it. So this shows the disaster that Connecticut's headed into. Just thought I'd bring that up.
Any other?
I just had a question.
Sal?
So, I think I missed, Mr. DeBello, so there is nothing we can do as a town to block something like this? Because I was reading about Newtown and Greenwich and some other towns basically getting together, and they're saying we're not gonna have it.
What Greenwich is doing is they're mobilizing a voters task force to get petitions, is what I understand.
Okay, so the
for a town
petition is
meeting.
the name of the game to
Yeah.
get this stopped.
No matter what you might read in the paper, because the statute is clear.
Okay.
It shall be by 10% of the voters who shall petition for a town meeting. It doesn't say the town council, legislative body, legislative council, or the mayor.
Understood, understood. So
So,
the
but that's
petition,
that's what Greenwich is doing, as I
Okay.
understand it. They're
what about
trying-
Newtown?
I don't know about Newtown, what they're doing. Matter of fact, I hadn't heard Newtown was doing that. But I do know there are towns that call their own town meetings without having the voters do that.
So what I'm hearing today is that we gotta do redistricting because someone came up with this brilliant idea. Now we're gonna have a dope on the street because that's another great idea, and we cannot do anything?
Well, yeah, the town could, the citizens can vote not to have sales, retail sales. Redistricting, the only way you can't appeal it.
No, I
You
understand.
can do it if it's discrimination, obviously. if
But we
there's
can,
a-
as a town, prevent having retail sales.
Yeah, if the
Precisely.
citizens, if the citizens push for a petition and that.
Precisely, so
Oh, sorry,
can we make a
Sal, just-
motion to get a petition going or something like this?
We can't
do
do
it.
that.
Well, actually,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
you guys,
Not us.
you're not the ones, you're the you're the
Understood,
town
understood.
council.
All right, so there's a way out.
Individually, you can start a petition.
Sure,
Understood,
as an
understood.
individual, you can get 10% of the voters.
Understood, understood,
I didn't write it, Sal.
understood.
Yeah, I guess my point of view, and I think Joe is right in a lot of what he's saying. Trouble is that, that horse is out of the barn, right? The state made it legal. There's nothing we can do about that. So it's gonna be on the street whether we like it or not. And the way it's set up, we can have up to one sale on premises here.
Two,
And-
one per
and,
10,000, two.
Was it one or two?
I thought we had one this year, maybe it's two.
Yeah, but
One per-
as far as I'm concerned, that's not gonna make any difference of usage in our town, one way or another. As long as zoning sets it up, so we're not selling it in the historic district down here. I mean, it's,
And we'll hear from zoning
what it is.
at the end of the month?
Yep.
Okay.
Next meeting, we'll have zoning chairman Bill Taylor and Laura Regan, our ZEO, at the next council meeting.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to item 12, Mayor, we had said, and I think it just was an oversight clerically, we had said that we were going to add, this goes back a couple meetings, we were going to add a number 7 to include the VFW and the American Legion.
The roof.
Yes, and
Yep.
funding under
Yep.
ARPA.
Yes.
And it was not typed in.
That's 100,000.
Yeah, so I guess I'd like to suspend the rules to add item number 7 for the New Milford VFW and the American Legion for addition to the ARPA funding of $100,000.
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Okay, so now, item number 12.
That was an aye from me.
Thank
That
you.
was just, we just voted, Hillary, to suspend the rules to add the item.
Yes. but
Now
there
we'll
was
go-
another item that we should have added, which was the Mary Jane had added about, I think it was 100,000 for the addiction services. You were gonna talk to Jason and Dr., do you remember this? She also added on.
Yep. So we were gonna be
So we
having
were gonna-
we're gonna have Justin
Justin.
come, but Justin's
Right.
on vacation.
I think we should make a motion. I think we
Right.
should add, $200,000 and just add that as number 9.
Do you
For
want to
it.
wait, we're going to have Justin come next meeting?
Yep.
Yeah, because he's the community care coordinator who would
Mhm.
know. So we still have more to do, so we can
Yeah.
add it next meeting? Is that what
Absolutely.
you'd like? Okay. So, please remind us.
So, and why,
No, it should get onto the, we should maybe remind you next week before you do the agenda.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
That's
it'll
why,
be on
this
the
was
next
just a
agenda.
clerical, I have it written down
Right.
here that we were going to do it and it just didn't get
I
on.
agree with Hillary, that's important.
So you want to add it now? Is that
No,
what
I
you're
want to hear
saying?
Jason talk.
Yeah, I
Right.
think so. I think
about
that-
the amount
Just
that
like-
he.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
what
think
it's gonna be
right,
used for
right.
and expected results.
But I will be sure to check in for that. Okay, so item number 12, my motion is that we move to approve the following items to come under the ARPA funds that we will allocate for the New Milford Public Library, 275-213, Water Witch Hose Company. This is an adjustment. It's some errors they had made in the addition. $22,147, Lovers Leap Bridge, $150,000, Boardman Bridge, $125,000, COVID-19 Town Response, $500,000, New Milford Ambulance, again, this is an adjustment to numbers that we had in the past, $32,524.86. And the aforementioned item number 7 of the VFW and American Legion, $100,000.
Okay, so we want to
Second.
thank you. Want to take them one by one?
Thank you, Tom.
Yes.
Okay.
Library, 275-213.
Yeah,
Chris?
If on the library, my opinion, I don't know that this is, because a big chunk of that is in salaries, which would be ongoing, not just a 2-year trial thing. But I think that's more of a budgetary issue than to use for ARPA funds, would be my opinion.
Well, one of the items, the criteria in ARPA is that we do not add anything, expend money for something that would then need to be covered in our budget. And indeed, as a salary line, if all of this is salary, is it?
Not all of it, but I think a good.
No, there's
I think
there's also
180 or 190 of it is.
There's also some
With some furniture.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some bookcases and furniture.
Didn't we bring this up at the last meeting, this specific issue, and yet it's come back at the same number? Is it clerk mistaken?
I think it came.
No, this was brought, Lorna, who's here, this was brought to the council for the council to, how we've been doing it is, we've been presenting it, and then at the next meeting, coming back and deciding what
Right.
we were gonna do with it. So this, we just discussed it at the last council meeting.
We
So it's
discussed
being
it,
brought-
now we're voting.
Now it's bringing it back.
Right.
To
And I'll
see
tell
what
you
we
exactly
wanna do.
when that was.
And Lorna's here if you got questions you wanna ask her.
No, I have to agree with Crystal, is anytime we adding staffing into the ARPA funds, it means that in 2 years, we have to get that staff out of there, and I get nervous doing that.
Well, it
we've done it a
isn't
few
so much
times.
get them out of there as either that or fund them through the budget.
Yeah, but
So,
we're not-
in
I don't
effect, it
know
could
we
be
wanna-
the library jumping up 275,000 in their payroll.
Yeah, but you're right, we have to find the money somewhere, and there's only so much money that's gonna come from the tax rolls.
Well, and I think the difference here and some of the other ones, the staff that we funded, that a lot of those needs are COVID related, and maybe some of the need goes away in 2 years, maybe it doesn't. So it's a trial thing, where this, I don't think, the way Lorna presented it, this is the case. I think there's every intention that we hire these people and they're gonna be around long beyond ARPA.
The discussion and the amount, just Mike or whoever said it, Joe, it's exactly the same, 275, 213. From then, which was December 13th till now.
Okay,
Alex has her hand up.
I'm sorry.
So Lorna's here, so are any of the items that are on the list items that were requested in previous budgets?
No, because it's a brand-new
I know it's a new
building,
building,
so this is,
but
with the brand-new building, Laura, if you want to come up and talk, this is for the,
for the new
the
programs, I
make-
heard
the
the
makery?
present,
Yep.
right, I heard the presentation, but everything on this list would be something that you did not have in your plans during the last budget process.
Well, I wasn't here during the last budget project, but we are completely reconfiguring the staffing in the library
Okay.
right now, because especially for those of you who've, I really appreciate that you came by and visited, that you can understand that the layout of the library is completely different. The services that we're providing are going to be increased, and so the staffing is going to be a whole different picture this year than it's ever been before.
Okay, and would not just the salaries, but some of these items be something that, if we didn't have the money, you would be looking for in the new budget that you're preparing? If we didn't have
If
the
you're
ARP
talking
money-
about not the staffing part of it.
Right, the
Well,
materials.
I would like to find, we have a makerspace. There was a makerspace put into this building. So we have this experiential learning center, so we're gonna need to put something in it. It may not be, it wouldn't be as robust, would have to be very gradual, would have to maybe find other grant funding or something.
Lorna,
to-
are you saying that the 275, 213 is for the makerspace?
No, there's 191.
Well, break it out. Tell me, how much is the makerspace?
191,000 of that.
How much?
191,000 is for staff positions.
Yeah, okay.
And then 40,000 is for furniture and 43
Who's the
for
maker?
materials, or the other way around.
So 191,000 is staff, that, unless people don't want any of the programs that you're intentioning to use these people for, they're gonna need to be there for,
Well, I
as
mean,
long as the library's open. So that 191,000 of this 275 is to fund something that we can say right now here, where we know is going to have to come back into our budget.
I
There's
mean,
no doubt
as
about it.
much as, I think there have been other positions out there that we've brought in, and if the people who are hired in those positions are contributing in a positive way to the community, then yes, we would want to keep
Well,
them on.
$191,000 worth of staff, I would think you would be considering that you're gonna do programs for them, that you're not doing them just for 2 years.
Yes.
Okay, in which case, I would say, from this position, is that then you should be putting this 191,000 into your budget coming up, not encumbering ARPA funds for it, because that is it's 180 degrees against what ARPA is here to do. Okay?
Well, okay. Well, I-
80,000 of it if it's, as you said, for maker and equipment or whatever. But 191 that's staff, unless you know right now they're gonna be here for 2 years and then you're gonna stop those programs, there's no way that I can say that this isn't going against what ARPA wants us to do.
Well,
I mean, I'm not against the library, you know that, but just that I think, it
there's-
has to be a budget item.
Like 191, 275 minus 191, what is that value?
83,000.
Do we want to put that on the table? I don't know.
The 40 and the 43 that she mentioned which isn't staff. I just, you have a budget, your department, realizing that ARPA has money to give us, but that portion is really what they don't want us to do.
So what's the council's thought on the capital, which is like 83,000? Which is the 3D printer and all the stuff
I
that we
think,
forget.
I'll just continue my little
Yep.
diatribe, is that because this maker space is new and something new in our library, which I'm, spent a lot of my time working on this library, I think it's great. So 83 is something that's gonna stay there, that's great. But I think even though you can justify that you need a staff person somewhere in there for that or whatever, you're adding something we know right this minute is not gonna go away in 2 years. So I personally say I can't go for that.
Yeah, we can talk about it in a couple weeks, months, whatever it is, when we do budget time. And
That's where I think salaries belong.
So why don't I itemize this versus having this whole number, just break it up into, so
Well,
we
no,
have it in writing.
that's what we're here to talk about, so.
I guess my thought on the materials or furniture, I'm not sure, I heard 3D printer.
It's for the makerspace.
Right, but if any of that equipment is dependent on staffing,
Absolutely.
because these
Not
high-tech
really.
items,
We
so
have-
3D printer, if it's gonna sit there and collect dust because we don't staff it for 2 years, then it becomes obsolete, then we'd be wasting that money.
I believe that the mayor and I have discussed this, essential item many times. We had a makerspace, we have makerspace people, we have Robotics and Beyond, we
Right.
have kids in school, we have lots of opportunities for people to use this space, that the 83,000 will get the equipment that they need, but I believe the budget for your department is where you put the staff, not
So,
here.
My concern, as you said, Chris, is that if I get a whole bunch of equipment and furniture to put it on, but I don't have anybody to, to figure out how it works and to develop the programming and to get out in the community and promote it and show people what can be done with it, then it's just gonna sit there.
Then
It takes
don't
a
add it in
lot
now.
of.
Wait until the library's ready to open and see what comes.
Put it in the budget.
If it goes in the
Then
budget.
put it in the budget. That's, you're gonna have a budget going forward like you always have, like all departments have. And I realize that this is something you want, but we already know that we're not gonna have an opening until June. And a lot of things can happen, change, and, people can come forward and say, hey, I'd love to do this if you had a printer. I just say, I already said it, so.
I concur with my colleague.
Thank you, Voice in a Box.
I'm going to follow up with the same kind of concept here. When the new library was designed, that's okay. When the new library was designed, this space was designed as part of the new library, correct? So what was the plan to outfit the space before we knew we were getting federal money?
That's right, the budget.
Would go in the budget.
Okay, so I
Obviously.
still think it
Right.
should. That's all.
You
Yeah,
think what?
that's-
That's all. I want it all, and I want it in the budget.
But not in the ARPA funds.
Correct.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think the ARPA funds apply to what we're doing in the makerspace. So I think it's an ideal opportunity to, say, okay, why have the taxpayers pay for this when we have an opportunity to get money for this that we know it fits in, so many of the categories that they're looking for.
$83,000 is good, Lorna, but the 191 for the salaries,
If there's nobody to run the department.
but there are people
But you
who
can
can
put it in your
come.
budget in a few months. And that's the
Plenty
point
of
I'm trying to
people.
say. It can't, that we just don't want to put salaries, unless it's salaries as Chris said, as the salaries are going to help the need, which is depression for kids in the school that we need to address right now. Unless it's for that, we don't want to put it into the ARPA funds because it's creating a
And it's-
line item that we have to
Just
continue.
We
so
also,
account-
it could be rejected, okay? Remember, our auditors are gonna go through this. We do our process, the mayor sends it all around town through everybody. But auditors ultimately will look at this, and the one thing we don't want is to find out we've put something in there, because then nobody gets it. Nobody gets the money. They're gonna say, that's it, bad, slap you on the wrist, and you can't have it.
Just,
Mayor, have we created any other positions similar to what is being proposed in any other allocation so far?
Yes.
well, yeah, we did the crisis counselor, we've done the youth
But that's
counselors.
going into that, Mayor, is a 2-year trial. We
Correct.
know it, we're saying it.
Correct.
This isn't saying that
Right.
191,000 is just for 2 years.
And the thought is, COVID is driving some of those needs, and in 2 years,
Right.
hopefully, that goes away, and potentially we don't need those positions in 2 years. I think what we're saying here is, definitely, these positions will be around in year 3, 4, and 15.
We need to move on. We have to decide what we're gonna do. If we split it
So
out and
let
vote-
me ask this question, Mayor. So Lorna, could she have the opportunity to go back and look at these costs? And, I mean,
I
I
don't
just
think
don't,
so.
I don't want to just send you away and say, gone with you. How about you go back and you look at it, and I think we can give you some idea of the people who already have been a makerspace people, who would be
Yeah.
more than happy to come in and use this. And perhaps it has to wait all for budget, I don't know. But I think if you'd like the opportunity, we could give you that to go and,
Definitely, sure.
okay? Okay, good. All right, so item number 1, we'll table till Lorna
We'll table that
returns.
and then come back, okay.
All right,
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you,
you,
Lorna.
Okay,
Number
next,
2?
Water Witch Hose Company.
Yep.
This was the adjustment to their request before.
It's good
And we
by me.
have the gentleman from Water Witch, if anybody has any additional questions.
And you did provide
Yep.
backup.
I have a question.
Joe?
I can't quite make out these documents that came to us, but Did you decide not to go with a $14,000 washing machine?
No,
John?
what we had was, we had presented to the mayor, and we did kind of our due diligence. We presented him a large folder of different quotes for each of these items, and we had our good, better, best on a number of these. So some of these actually got line itemed into the first approval that you guys just approved tonight as your good, rather than your
Right.
best, rather than bringing us up to operational standard. So that's the only downfall. So that's where we were at.
That's not a washing machine for turnout gear, is it?
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yeah, full extraction. Yeah.
What's the name of that machine? I can't think of it right now.
Well, we have a number of different ones, but actually, truthfully speaking, some of this money, the money that we have in this, is actually supplemental to the airbags and to the boat. You guys already approved the full contingency for the washer
What was the name
dryer.
of it?
What's that?
The name of that big thing you put the
The
stuff in?
multi-force.
Have you guys spoken to any other departments about the trouble they've had with maintenance on those type of washing machines?
The washing machines themselves, no, they're
For
actually.
turnout gear.
The turnout gear, they're actually, our washing machine right now is almost 25 years old. That we've actually used, and it is.
For that gear.
For that gear, yeah. This one is actually gonna be bigger. It actually holds 4 full sets of gear, which we can only do about one. Truthfully, we could do 2 sets, but we usually keep it at 1 set with our current washer. So if we have 25 guys that respond to a fire, and everybody has to decon their gear, it's gonna take a
Yeah.
couple of days.
And you can't wear it again until you do that,
No,
right?
No, we
Yeah.
wanna keep the carcinogens off of our bodies and free of us soaking in, so.
And I think we'd rather you come to the fire than be waiting for the machine.
I'd hope so.
Any?
Okay, so were any of these items on in previous budgets?
Were any of these
Were any
items?
of these items on this list requested in previous regular budgets?
No.
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 And if we didn't have the AARP monies available to us, would you have put any of these requests in on your future budget?
Your answer is yes, absolutely.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
All right. Lover's Leap?
Lover's Leap, 150,000, as we talked about before. And speaking with Jeannie Garvey, our state representative, she had explained, former state representative, she explained to me that Lover's Leap, the bridge, the maintenance is required by the town. So as I told this council before, I went and take a look, and lo and behold, that is true. I've asked Jack and his team to go and take a look at what required maintenance we would have to do on that bridge. And this would be the beginning, the seed money for that maintenance on that bridge.
So it's creating a fund, just kind of like the track.
Yep,
and the track.
same would be said for
Right.
Boardman Bridge.
Yep.
That bridge is in disrepair, as we all know, and we have to make a decision what we're gonna do with that bridge, because if you just leave it the way that it is, you're gonna end up falling in the river.
Yeah, we have to.
And then you're gonna have all sorts of environmental issues.
So we either have to fix it or.
Correct.
remove it.
This
Or
is the study
disassemble.
that tells us how much to
Correct.
fix it or what
Right.
it costs to improve.
Correct.
Either way, we have to do
Yeah.
an update on a review of what's happening with that bridge.
Yep.
So the 125 is, we don't really have a choice. The COVID?
Next is we all
Excuse
see,
me. Sorry, going back to the bridges briefly. With regard to Lover's Leap Bridge, is there documentation when the park was created from the state that explained any
Randy?
of who's responsible for what?
Yeah.
On that bridge.
It's all state.
Nothing to say about that. In fact, the park that attends to it is also state operated.
The only thing that this is bringing me to the dam, it's not that I don't want to do it, it's just that this to me is part of infrastructure, part of what we should have been maintaining all along. You know, so how can it suddenly be right upon us? We have these funds for specific reasons, and these to me just don't fall in that, you know, in that wheelhouse.
so under the
Or-
ARPA funds, we
yeah.
have the availability through the revenue, deferred revenue. that qualifies because we can do the infrastructure programs. Now, as I said before, the council, you have a decision to make.
Right.
You can say no to that, then we can put it in the budget. And then when the budget goes to 4 or 5%, and the taxpayers tell you no, so what you've then done is by fixing this bridge, you've helped every New Milford resident, because every New Milford resident that owns property pays tax.
But it's about balancing the budget, right? So it's something has to give here, there to make, to fix the dam, to fix the bridges, to fix the roads. So we don't tax higher, we look at the budget and we figure out the budget.
$275,000.
So Hillary, just a question, because
Yeah.
I know when you do look at your budget here, so you're taking a look at $1.2 million. Right now, we're going to be expending $5 million, right? $5 million of capital that we have to do, not want to do, have to do. So when you do that $5 million, are you going to ask yourself, do you want to tax the taxpayer of New Milford an additional $5 million? Or do you want to use these ARPA funds to offset the
But
costs?
that's not my question. It's why are we here at this place where these things are have come to this place where they have never been in the budget? We've never heard about the dam. We've never heard about this.
Lover's Leap, we didn't know was our problem.
That's the only point I'm raising, is that I'm having a hard time using these funds to fix things that have been going wrong for quite a while that should have been in the budgets, right? The dam. And
Wait. There's
Okay.
nothing going wrong with Lover's Leap.
No, this one was gonna fall in the water, Boardman Bridge.
Boardman Bridge has been defunct for, I don't know, 40 years?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
We've
it's-
known it, we now have an opportunity to do
And
something
it's been
about it
reviewed
without taxing
for
the
but these are-
taxpayer.
Right.
So you know, Hillary, because I know, I don't know how long you lived here, I'm sorry. But it was reviewed and a recommendation was made by an engineer for remediation, right? But there was no money to be had for that. So it's now time to fish or cut bait with it.
Yeah, the can's been kicked down the road, we now have an opportunity.
But the Lover's Leap Bridge was, I guess, sort of a who knew kind of thing.
Okay, so.
And that's a true destination point for the town.
Yeah, no, it's,
Right.
absolutely.
And we can't take it away.
But, I
we
mean,
could,
the
but-
council, at your discretion, you can choose to pull that out and put it in the budget and increase the taxes of the taxpayer.
I wouldn't increase the
That's
taxes. I would
entirely,
balance the budget somewhere else.
that's entirely up to.
I don't know where we would find
That's
that
easier
much
said than
money,
done.
though, Mayor.
I think
in
it
our-
is easier said than done, but that's the hard, that's what we're doing.
So you're saying is that, just take the two items here, that 275,000 should be apportioned out of here and go towards our budget and find a way to balance the budget by adding, and this is just one item in.
So this gets to my point of wanting a line item. I've asked for this list many, many times for an accounting of what we have spent and allocated so that we can have a big picture. We can understand, the fire department got $800,000, the police department got this. I have no sense of the overall picture. So when I see these, because I'm only seeing little pieces, I've asked for the big picture, I think, we have killed kids that are hurting. We have people that can't pay heat. We have people that are hungry. No, I don't care about the bridge. Do you see what I mean? So this is what I'm trying to.
But you have to care about the bridge,
Of
because
course
if
I
we
do,
don't do
but-
something to it, we'll be in court, because it'll be in the river.
I understand, but it's like the
deteriorating.
library. Is this the place to spend this money? So
I
that's all
already
I'm
said no
bringing
to the
up.
library, and my life has been with this library.
I've raised the
I think what Hillary's saying, and I agree with it, is I'd love to see a list that's just gets added on every time we add something to
Well,
it.
every meeting, we have it in front of us, and I'm sorry if you haven't kept, excuse me. You can make a list, I make a list.
I have actually made one
Here's the
myself,
thing,
but
so
those were
what
every
you're
single
saying
one
is,
and put it in here.
okay, so Hillary, what you're saying is you want to look at amount that we've apportioned from ARPA for the fire department or for the police department.
Why is that so hard though?
But I'm not, just a minute, let me finish. As if the amount will make the decision for you, and you'll say, well, the fire department doesn't need, I have my own list. I don't think it's, as the mayor just said, these are things that we have an opportunity to use this fund, capital things. So capital things don't come up all the time because they are expensive, and in order to not raise the taxes a tremendous amount, we apportion them out, and here's an opportunity to take care of some of that.
So-
And it's not a matter of how much more we might take away from fire or police or a bridge. It's a matter of what we have that we need to have done.
So, Kate, sorry, Chris, to
No, go
answer
ahead.
the question that was brought forward. So in our minutes of November 22nd, I will again summarize to the public and to our council what we've done. So far, we've approved $200,000 for a domestic violence and family advocate. We've approved for New Milford Ambulance, capital, $336,163.12. For the personnel EMS manager, $180,000. The Arts Commission, for our arts community, $125,000. Our nonprofits, $125,000. Reservoir Dam, $1,200,000. For the New Milford Fire Marshal, our fire packs, $15,900. Software, $75,000. iPads, $34,000. Radios, $75,000. Foreclosure rental assistance. We've added a $51,000. The Hope Fund, which is part of the rental assistance, $100,000. Good Samaritan Fund, $100,000. For the New Milford Police Department, Public Safety, which was those electronic signs, $22,800. The de-escalator simulator, $50,000. Business loans and grants, $395,000. That's a total of the first tranche, $3,084,863.12.
Mayor, that was in the minutes of that meeting.
Correct.
Excuse me.
I have those right in front of me, that's not exactly.
Excuse me, that's not
So-
really what we're looking for. Can you tell me, if we vote on this, how much money's left to spend?
Sure.
Tonight's list?
But there's a list of other things that we have.
I know there is, but I want it in writing in one master list, and I
Okay.
want the people of New Milford to be able to see the whole list. This is how much money we started with, this is what we've approved so far, this is what left to spend. I don't think we need to hear it from you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I want to give it to
can read too.
excuse me, I want to give it to the public because you had just asked that we didn't know. So I'm going to read it into the minutes.
Again.
I'm also going to say it to the public that is listening. I'm also going to put it out on the website so that everybody can see it,
Perfect,
okay?
thank you.
So our child care youth counselors are $225,000. Child care assistants, $100,000. These are ones we're talking about today. New Milford Senior Citizens Advisory Board, $75,137. The Brownfield Community Challenge Grant, $500,000. John Pettibone Community Center, $150,000. New Milford Police Department for their scheduling software, $30,375. Talking about the ones that we talked about tonight at our town meeting. For the Milford Fire Department Burn Building, $410,525. Northville Fire Department, their 14 sets of turnout gear, $51,000. 18 portable radios, $21,000. 7 mobile radios, $8,200. Replacement of their fire nozzles, $9,400. Fire gear dryer, $7,489. Mobile fire gear storage rack, $7,125. For Water Witch, the Maxi airbag system, $70,472. Outfitted rescue boat, $42,719. Underwater sonar equipment, $4,572. PPE drying cabinet, $12,934. Washing machine, $14,842. Underwater drone, $44,572. Arizona Vortex, $5,274. There's the additional funds that we're talking about tonight, which is the extra funds, correct?
22,147.
Gaylordsville Fire Department, their global radios, $190,000. Lucas Device, $14,000. 3 AEDs, $5,385. Air Transportation Vacuum Spine Board, $2,990.99. 2 backboards for spine immobilization, $230. Back strap set, $281.88. 2 thermal imaging cameras, $22,112. Stokes basket, $1019. Also our IT infrastructure, $292,493. Sullivan Farm replacement of the barn roof, $64,000. Farm crew supervisor to assistant farm manager positions would be $160,000. Park and Recs, the disc course, $9,880. Outdoor movie theater, $23,945. Primary capital loans, loans for capital resident for capital repairs, $150,000. So that tranche itself is $2,543,973.86. Joe?
2 points I have raised. If we have done all this and we're so proud of it, it should be right in front of the public, and I agree it's gotta be out there. And I know we asked for this list the last time we were here, so I appreciate you putting it in, but let's get it out there to us and the public if we're proud of everything we've done. The next thing is, have we ever asked for the cost to tear down Waterman Bridge?
No.
That's what this is going to
That's what the study will tell you.
The study that was, they're gonna tell us whether it's worth saving or tearing down. Okay,
Correct.
that's-
And then the cost, similar to the dam, of tearing it down, well, what?
Okay,
You
that's
know,
what that's,
yep.
that I appreciate, both options.
Mayor?
Chris?
Are we voting on each one of these individually or?
Correct.
As a whole?
Yep. Because there was some apprehension on the library.
Right.
So to just go one by one?
Okay, so then we're gonna go back to each one and vote?
Yep.
I'm ready to vote on it.
Okay.
Discuss these
Okay,
before.
so we're still at what, number 5 was
But your
the,
motion is for all, not for individual.
yes, I know. Yep.
So you want to withdraw your motion?
Well, I
and then
didn't,
go
I
one by
didn't actually make, I read them individually
one? Okay.
when I made it, Stephanie. Did you get that? When I
Yes.
read the motion, I
Yes,
read
okay,
the
right.
items, and then first I suspended to add item number 7,
Yes.
and then I read them individually. So far, we've tabled number 1, but all the other ones at this point are
Number
still
5?
there. Yep. COVID response?
There's no official motion to table number 1. We actually move to table that?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion on tabling the library? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Thank you. Katie? what's
Yes,
number 2?
COVID-19 town response, $500,000.
So as we've been hearing before, COVID continues here throughout the country, and we continue to offer vaccine clinics. I believe that we need to have a reserve in case we need to have additional PPE, another variant comes out, that the town has resources available at its disposal to combat COVID. If we don't use it, it can follow the bottom. But I think it's prudent that we do have that as a,
I concur.
Okay. Any discussion on that one before we move forward? Item number 6 is for the New Milford ambulance. This is the adjustment of $32,524.86.
and Donna's here if you have any questions
It
concerning.
goes-
Joe?
When we put the new communication system in years ago, did you guys get new radios at that time? And that was microwave, these are VHF.
We got nothing.
You got nothing out of that?
Nope.
Okay. Nice. I'm not nice, it's not nice that.
Don't worry.
You follow me.
Any discussions for?
Any more on that item? Then the one we added in, the VFW and American Legion, $100,000.
So in speaking with Commander Delancey, the VFW, which all of us knows houses does a lot of veterans benefits there, has a commercial kitchen that we could help use. They're looking to make that more veteran-centric, and they agreed that we could make that a true veteran center for the area. Obviously, that structure needs a new roof to make that happen. And these funds would go to be helping our veterans. It'll allow the service coordinators from the state to come in and help with counseling for our veterans. Also, the availability of the commercial kitchen to add that as additional space to help our nonprofits. And also it's additional community space that the town sorely needs.
And so that's just for the VFW, is there anything?
No,
for the
American Legion.
Yeah,
too.
there'd be some
American
money for the
Legion,
American
right.
Legion as well.
So they're getting something as well, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
Is that actually enough money for everything you just said?
That's what they're telling me.
Okay.
I hate to go back just one iota, and it's out of order, but you guys aren't a part, the ambulance isn't a part of the rest of the communication system, police, fire in town? Because your VH, they're 900 megahertz. You guys are no,
Fire
can't,
department, everyone, we're all separate.
you guys tie into the police department and town highway department, right? You're part of the 900 megahertz system or not?
No, we each have our own.
We spent millions on this microwave system and didn't put everybody in it? That's another day.
They're all different frequencies.
They're all frequencies.
Some are digital, some are not.
Okay, sorry, to get sidetracked, but I should have known that the last time I saw it on the council.
Okay, so we're going to go through and vote on each one?
Yep.
Okay, so move for Water Witch Hose Company adjustment to expend from ARPA the following: $22,147,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm a no.
One opposition, any abstention. Okay?
Lover's Leap Bridge, move to take from ARPA $150,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Any abstentions?
Did you get Alex? No?
Yep.
Okay. Boardman Bridge, move to use ARPA funds, the amount of $125,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
No.
Any abstentions?
Okay. Item number 5, COVID-19 town response to the virus. Move to expend $500,000 from ARPA.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
New Milford ambulance adjustment, move to expend $32,524.86 from ARPA.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Did he say he was opposed?
No.
Oh, okay. And the final is the VFW and American Legion building repairs, $100,000 to be moved to expend that from ARPA funds.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, everyone.
Right. Okay. Item 13, we'll move into executive session, asking Attorney Randy DeBella and Brian Lastra, our assessor, into the meeting. Tom, I'm sorry, you have to go. Tom Esposito, you have to go.
That's at your discretion.
Highway's got their, Highway interacts with all
I
of
don't
them.
know. Excuse me, Mayor, we had this discussion. He's on, Randy, didn't you say executive session? We could not have,
Depends on what rule you adopt that rule.
did we adopt a rule?
Yeah, because we have no idea who's in the room.
No. Did we adopt the rule?
Yeah.
I believe we said no.
Yeah, I think that, we have no idea who's in the room.
Right.
Did you guys approve the motion to go into executive session?
Yep.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay.
Alabama's up 9-3.
Oh, yeah, no, that's good, you did.
Okay.
So you
So we're
guys-
back,
Okay. We're back, move to enter back into regular session. No motions were made, no votes were taken during executive session. Second?
any
Chris Cosgrove?
discussion? All those in favor to get back into regular session?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to suspend the rules to add to the agenda item 14, to appropriate $65,000 to be used between today, the 10th of January 2022, through June 30th, 2022, for all tax appeals that may occur.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm sorry,
So that was to add to the agenda.
Say it again, Katie. Today, from today till?
Okay.
The end of the June 30th.
From January 10th through June 30th, 2022, adding to the agenda.
Just to the add to the agenda, we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Okay, now I'll make a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn?
No, we make a motion to appropriate $65,000.
It's not easy
For
having that
all-
responsibility.
Okay.
is it?
We're not 10 o'clock yet.
The motion is an appropriation to expend $65,000 to cover all tax appeals from today, January 20th, 2022, through June 30th, 2022.
Second.
And we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Thank you.